Hello, hello, hello. Okay, welcome everyone to this webinar. This particular webinar, by the way, is, in my opinion, one of the most important webinars you could ever be on, because I know that everyone on this call meeting wants to either work in a large law firm or they want to stay employed in a top law firm. And I'm going to show you how to do it today. I'm going to show you how anyone from any legal background can put themselves in a situation where they're in a large law firm. And I'm going to tell you advice for your career and your life that could change the direction of both. And out at the outset, I want to commend everyone for being on this webinar, and the reason is because 99.5% of all attorneys out there never take the time to educate themselves on this sort of information. And I have a ton of information to share with you today that, frankly, is going to change your career. I would encourage everyone on this webinar to take notes and to really kind of try to digest this stuff. And then following the webinar, I would even encourage you to refer to those notes at various times in your career. I've been doing this for over 25 years now. I've gotten tons of people into major U.S. law firms, some that didn't even go to an ABA-approved law school. So that's what's possible. And and again, just so few people take the time to educate themselves on what it takes to work in a large law firm, and also to educate themselves on the legal profession and what it takes to advance. I mean, you are literally among the top 99.5% of people out of attorneys out there that take the time to educate themselves on this sort of information. So I just want everyone to know that you're definitely smart being on these webinars. I love the fact that you're trying to educate yourself and learn more, and you're just a very rare individual that takes the time to educate themselves. And just as another point, I hear success stories on a regular basis of people that went to these webinars and changed the direction of their career, and some points even lives. And they send me these sorts of emails on a regular basis. I mean, I get at least one of them per week. So when you understand this sort of information, you're going to be a much, much stronger attorney. You're going to be able to really change the direction of your career in life. So again, congratulations. Now, this particular webinar is live. So when we finish the presentation, I will take questions. All of your questions, by the way, will be anonymous, so no one is going to know who you are, and so you don't need to worry about that. And I would encourage you, as I do the webinar, to ask questions even while the webinar is going on, that I will answer later. Questions that you think of and that could be that would be helpful to know the answers to. Let's get started. Okay, so what you're going to learn today are proven strategies to overcome non-traditional legal backgrounds for people that may not believe that they can get a job in a large law firm, or they didn't go to a good law school, or maybe they're not working in a major law firm right now. So I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm also going to talk to you about different ways to get yourself into a law firm. I'm going to talk about a little bit about networking. I'm going to talk about developing an expertise and a niche that large law firms do. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to do your job search to get into a large law firm. At the outset, I wanted to just make a couple of observations that may be helpful to you just as you're thinking about all this. So most people, what they do is they get out of law school, or they're in law school, and they get on a certain path, and they think that that's all they can do, and they just kind of go day by day doing their job and hoping something good will come. But it never does. The reason it never does is because you do not have big goals for yourself. You can have a goal that says, I want to work at this giant law firm within 20 years, and you can keep referring back to that goal. You can take baby steps towards that goal, but you always have that goal in your mind. You take that goal and you write it down and you keep referring back to it, and you run your career in your life in a way that's likely to will get you eventually a job in those large law firms. And that's what successful people do. Successful people always have major goals. It doesn't matter where you are now. If you have a major goal, then you're going to start, pointing yourself to it, and you're going to continually move yourself in a direction towards it. Do not get stuck in a rut. Like, again, 99.5% of all attorneys do, thinking that what you have today is what you're going to have tomorrow, and just working in a job and hoping something good will come. You need big goals. And I'm going to tell everyone on this call right now that if your goals are something like, oh, I'm going to work as hard as I can and hope good things come, that's not a goal. If you're spending all your time just working in a job without big goals, that's not good either. Most people get stuck just doing the same thing over and over again. They come to these beliefs that because of where they went to law school, that's going to control the entire course of their career, or because of where they're currently employed and sort of work they're doing, that's going to determine the course of their career. And none of this is true. I mean, it's just none of this is true. You cannot come to these limiting beliefs about yourself. It's insane. Like, why would you believe that you have to be a solo practitioner, just eking it out forever? Why would you believe that you have to work in a small law firm forever and will never get a job in a big firm? Why would you believe that you only need to make whatever amount you're making and you can't do better in the market? I mean, this is what people think, and they do it. And let me just tell you how long your legal career is. So the average attorney that goes straight through college and law school graduates when they're about 25 years old, 25. And they reach these conclusions at the age of 25 that because they can't get a job, they're never going to work in a big firm. Because they're working in a small firm, they can never get into a large law firm. All of these sorts of things. Because they failed the bar twice, they're never going to do a large law firm. Because they're too, they reach all these conclusions when they're very, very young. And it's crazy. I don't care if you're 40 or 50 or you're 25. You can practice law in a law firm well into your 80s. I've placed partners that are in their 80s and they're still practicing law. I once got a divorce. I mean, I've had two, but unfortunately, but my first divorce, I had an attorney doing it that was in his mid-90s. And it was actually beneficial for me because he didn't fight as much and settled a bit quickly. But the point is that if you graduate from law school and you're 25, well, people live a lot longer now. You'll probably, if you're 25, you'll probably live to your mid-90s. So that's 70 years. You have 70 years to continually move up and up and up and get better and better and better. 70 years. So think about that. Like, why are you thinking at the age of 25, the age of 30, the age of 45, the age of 50, even at the age of 50, you have 45 years. What are you thinking? Like, why are you limiting yourself when you can practice law for that long? And a lot of attorneys that I've placed that are in their 70s and placed a few in their early 80s started out as solo practitioners. Look at presidential candidates in their late 80s. I mean, come on. Like, if you can be president of the United States and you're in your late 70s or early 80s, you can be president of the United States and you're in your late 70s. Think about that. So if you graduate from law school at the age of 25, that person, someone like that is running for president that's 80, that's 55 years that they had to get to that point. They kept improving and improving and improving and getting to that point. And that's pretty awesome. So your entire career is not, I want to make sure you write this down, make sure you understand this. It's not determined by where you are right now. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. It just has nothing to do with it because you have decades to continually get better and better. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be in a large law firm in 5 years if you went to a 4th-tier law school. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen in 5 years. It doesn't even mean that's going to happen in 10 years, but it can happen. I've seen it over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, as someone that's been intimately involved in this industry, watching what happens to people like yourself that are educating themselves in this information are going to go far, very, very far, because no one else is doing what you're doing today. No one else is sitting down and watching and listening to this information. Everybody else is sitting at their desk or doing whatever they're doing and just getting on a hamster wheel with no goals, no direction, no big goals, not thinking anything positive is going to happen to them in their career. And your school has nothing to do with it. Where you're working right now has nothing to do with it. Regardless of what you're currently doing, you can work in a major law firm. I'm telling you that. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care your religious or whatever. Regardless of your background, you can get into a large law firm. And I'm going to tell you how to do it. Now, I'm not saying anything like this is easy. I'm not saying that you won't have to work very hard, but the only thing I can say to you, the most important thing I can say to you right now is this is never going to happen to you unless you have major goals. It's not going to happen. You have to write down what you want. And that goal is to work in a major law firm. You will do it. I've seen so many attorneys. I've had attorneys come to me and they say, I had an associate, a woman that was an associate not too long ago. She was an associate at a big firm, but she said, I want to be partner. They're never going to make me partner in this firm. She had no business. She said, that's my goal. And within 6 months, she was able to network and do all these things and get herself a job as a partner in a major law firm, she'd been making, I don't know, $400,000 a year. And suddenly she was making $1.2 million overnight because she had a goal. She networked her way into it. She met people. She made that a very big goal of hers, and she got it. If you have not done so, I recommend reading Think and Grow Rich. That tells you exactly what you need to do to reach your goal. Read it once, read it twice, read it 3 times, read it 4 times, read it 5 times until it sinks in, because that book will change your life. It talks about persistence. It talks about having goals. It talks about surrounding yourself with groups of people that are going places. It has all these lessons that you can understand, and it's changed the lives of millions of people. A ton of entrepreneurs, I would say at least 30 to 40% of the most successful entrepreneurs out there have read that book, and they read it again and again and again. And I remember once Tony Robbins told me that he knew someone that read it once a year, and that person was successful. He knew someone that read it twice a year, and that person was twice as successful. He knew someone that read it 3 times a year, the person 3 times as successful. I mean, there is information out there that can change your life. You should be looking at books. A good book also is Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. That can get you fired up. You need to realize that no matter where you are today is not where you're going to be tomorrow if you have goals and if you have persistence and if you do the right thing and you know where you're going. So I'll talk to you a little bit now about something that you're certainly aware of, that attorneys from the best law schools and that go to, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Why do attorneys from the best law schools and the best law firm, you get the best law firms, and why do they tend to do better than others? And we'll talk about that because that's true. We're all aware of that. And so I'm just going to want to tell you very clearly about what happens to most attorneys who didn't attend the best law schools. And this may be you. And if it is, who cares? But this is what mostly happens. If you didn't go to one of the best law schools, you're much less likely to become an important politician, judge, or an academic. That doesn't mean you can't teach at a 3rd or 4th tier law school. It doesn't mean that you can't be mayor or something like that. It doesn't mean that you can't be a judge, whatever type of judge. None of that has anything to do with it, but it means how far you'll go. Kamala Harris, she went to UC Hastings, which the last I checked, or whatever it's called now, was ranked like 50 to 100. She failed the bar. Who cares? I mean, she's now, obviously in the presidency, from the presidency. So, I mean, none of this really matters, but she was less likely to get on that path after failing the bar and not going to a top law school. You're not less likely if you go to a top law school, or I'm just being honest here, to be famous for doing anything. I'm going to tell you why this is. It's not because of your smarts or anything. You're less likely, much less likely to ever work in a large law firm. So if you go to a low-ranked law school, maybe the number 1 or 2 person in your class got into a large law firm. That means 99% of the people didn't, or 98. So you're much less likely to go to a major law firm. You're also much less likely to make a lot of money. Now, there are certain practice areas where people that I've seen did not go to law schools, did not do it all well, become worth hundreds of millions of dollars by doing things like personal injury. And they were horrible students and went to bad law schools. So there are things that you could do that where you make a lot of money, which is what a lot of people that went to poor law schools do. They become very good at it, excellent, and make a ton of money. I'm just telling you that's a practice area that if you like that sort of thing, could be very good. And if you didn't go to a top law school or you're not at a good law firm right now, you're much more likely to work for a smaller law firm, or if you want to go into in-house, you're much less likely to work for, or you're more likely to work in a smaller company. You're more likely to, have a less important government job. That's just how it is. These are facts, and these facts are just averages of what happens. And they're more true often than not, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And the lower ranked law school you go to, the staff you have a challenge, the more likely you are to be in a less successful practicing law, the more likely you are to be less successful in politics, business, government, or academia. I mean, obviously, being a professor at Yale Law School or Harvard or something is not a realistic, unless you set that goal and you do the things necessary. It's not a realistic thing for you, probably. So what happens when you go to a lower ranked law school, or just when you don't do well at a top law school? You just don't, you're going to be most lower ranked law schools. You're going to be surrounded by people who, right out of the gate, will accept that they're not as likely to be successful as people who went to big law firms, and you'll learn that very quickly. At the outset, I want to make a couple of points, and I'll talk about them in a little more detail today. But if you did not go to a top law school, you're going to be surrounded by people that don't have the same sorts of goals as people that went to major, work at major law firm. I mean, work at big law schools. I mean, go to big law schools. You go to a big law school, a really good law school. All the people that you're around will have all sorts of goals about working in the major law firms. They have been very goal directed to get to that point where they're working in major law firms. That will be a major goal that they have, and they will all talk among each other about where the best places are, what the worst places are, how to get jobs. They'll just be a certain type of person you're surrounded by. And by the way, the only benefit of going to a top law school is it's not what you learn. Maybe the professors are a little better, but you're learning the same thing. You're taking the same bar. It's the people that you're surrounded by. When you're surrounded by people that have major goals for themselves, you're more likely to be like them. And that's just how it is. So you're more likely to pick up their ways of thinking and their strategies than if you're not around people that aren't like that. So, if you didn't go to a top ranked law school, it's going to be harder for you to get judicial clerkships with federal judges and law firm jobs, top firms early in your career. The doors that will open will be people that will pay you less money, that won't be doing as important work, that do not have high standards for their attorneys. And so you will may accept the fact that you're defeated early in your career. You may accept the fact that, or not fact, but the idea that you're less likely to be successful than attorneys from better law schools. And so, you'll be surrounded by people if you go to not that great of a firm that probably aren't as high achievers and do not hold themselves to the same high standards. So what does that mean? Like, I just want to give you a couple of examples. So I have two daughters. One of them goes to a very prestigious, private school. She's surrounded by people that are doing everything they possibly can to get the best colleges. They're all competitive with one another. They're trying to get the best grades. They're sharing information. They're talking about colleges all the time. My daughter's a senior. They're working as hard as they can. They're taking as many CP courses. They're preparing for SATs. They're doing all these sorts of things. And my other daughter goes to a school called Malibu High, and not a private school. And she's surrounded by people who, want to go into fashion, so a lot of them want to be models. And I mean, it's just a different type of person. So if you're interested in being a model, you're going to have different, or going into fashion or whatever, or you're more interested in being well liked socially, you're going to have a different outcome in your life, and that's okay. I mean, not everyone should go to the top schools and stuff, but that's just how it works. You're going to be around those sorts of people, and those sorts of people are going to, give you habits, ways of thinking, expectations about what's possible in their careers and lives. And so, if you're at a school where every single person is taking 4 or 5 APs in their junior year, and maybe 2 in their sophomore year, and then 5 more in their senior year, that's obviously a different type of goal-directed person that's taking, basic algebra 1 in their first year. I mean, my daughter's actually in advanced algebra, but at the public school. But I mean, it's just different. And so, you'll be surrounded by people that have limiting thoughts, and you're less likely to be surrounded by people that have always been winning. Like, so someone that goes to a top law school wins. I mean, they got the best grades. They figured out how to get the best law school. They did whatever they could. In my family, no one was attorneys. I had no idea about what it was like to be an attorney. I never considered it, but I went to the University of Chicago, and in my fraternity, there were a bunch of very competitive people, and they talked about how the grades you needed to get. They talked about how much money attorneys made. And suddenly, without any idea that I ever wanted to be an attorney, I had goals, and I knew what I needed to do. And I talked to people that were going to law schools, and I was competitive with my friends and wanted to go to top law schools. All this stuff happened just because of the people I was surrounded by. Had I not been surrounded by these people, I can say with 100% confidence, I would not be here today. I was when I went to law school, it's very weird how I got into it, because I took the LSATs I don't know, like in March. And by the time the results came out, all the law schools were filled. Somehow I got into a top 10 law school. I don't know how that happened, but I was at that when I was planning on being a contractor, like doing asphalt work on driveways and parking lots. I mean, that was my goal, because I just without having that anyway. It's a long story, but the point is, you're surrounded by people that have big goals, and so what determines will something get into these schools is different things. So in my case, because I operate a business, I'm familiar with different entrepreneurial groups. There's groups like Vistage, the young professionals organizations, and others. People pay effectively thousands of dollars a month to belong, a couple $1,000s a month to belong to these groups. Some of them for business people are more prestigious than others. Someone like Vistage, if you have a business doing like $1 million a year, they're likely to take you. Something like YPO, Young Presidents Organization, is much more competitive. You have to have a bigger business, and getting into one of those business groups is competitive. And some are for smaller businesses, others are for larger business. So, and YPO can be very difficult. Some chapters, there's different chapters in different cities, may want you to have a business that does over $100 million a year. Others may want you to have one that does only 15 or whatever. I'm not saying only 15, but there's just different groups. And, and those groups that you're part of will set the expectations you have for your career and your life. I knew of a guy know of a guy from a girl that I dated. He was operating a business in California, and he really wanted to get into YPO. He kept getting rejected. His business wasn't large enough. He didn't fit with the people locally. So he somehow was able to get into a YPO chapter in the Middle East. Now, keep in mind, this guy's in Los Angeles. These groups meet once a month. So once a month, he would literally get on a plane and fly to Saudi Arabia to do it. And he would go to those meetings once a month just to be around the people that have these big businesses. And he did it because he wanted to put himself in a situation where he was associating with the most successful people that would allow him to associate with. And these were people that were successful, connected. They were entrepreneurs, and they were on the opposite side of the world. Tony Robbins tells a story about how when he was young and his business was growing, he met a famous producer in Los Angeles that took a liking to him. And he said that the producer said to him, "Hey, we have this group of, I don't know, 8 very successful people. We travel around the world together. We do these events. I really think you should do it." And he said to him, "Well, and he told Tony Robbins it was $250,000 a year to be part of this group." And Tony Robbins was like, "This is crazy. Like, why would I pay that much money?" And he said, "If you spend $250,000 running this group, it's going to be worth more like, it could be worth, 25 million or, 250 million, because you're going to be surrounding yourself by these people." So he was young and he scraped together the money and he became part of the organization and these groups. And exactly what happened. He turned in from some guy just giving talks around Los Angeles to a worldwide uh, person with these huge goals and this huge self-improvement business. I mean, it's just think about, the difference between just some guy giving, talks in Los Angeles to someone suddenly, being, worth hundreds of millions of dollars and all that sort of thing. So the guy that joined the group in Saudi Arabia, several years after that, he joined, his business became 10 times as large. I remember getting a tour of, he owned a lighting company, of this lighting company. It had started out with my girlfriend and he and like 3 or 4 other people, like working in a small office. And suddenly he had this giant factory that, took up like, acres of, in Culver City, Los Angeles, with hundreds of employees and, all these people. And, he just rose to this massive level by surrounding himself with all these successful people. And the only thing that changed for him was, instead of sitting in an office, like trying to figure everything out on his own, he surrounded himself with people that also had high expectations for themselves, and thought about their careers, lives, and businesses in a certain way. And I'm telling you right now, the quality of the people that you associate with from a business standpoint is going to change your life and your career. If you decide to associate with people that are thinking low of themselves, that don't have high expectations for themselves, you're not going to do well. If you surround yourself with the other types of people, you will do well. My oldest daughter, who's applying to colleges, it's very competitive in these schools. I mean, the best schools now have like a 3% acceptance rate. I told her, I was like, it doesn't matter where you go to school. It matters that when you get to the school, that you only associate with people that have very, very high expectations for themselves, because you will rise to their level. You will do everything you possibly can to rise to their level. I had kind of a weird experience when I was in high school. I went to a very competitive high school, and for various reasons that I won't get into it, at our childhood and other stuff, my friends tended to be, people that were stoners and that sort of thing. And had I had a different set of friends, I mean, I went to a good college, but had I had a different set of friends, all sorts of things would have happened to me, probably that didn't happen to me. And so the different people you associate with, will, rub off on you. So, from the guy I was talking about, Saudi Arabia, he made friends with the right people, started learning from them, got connected, started getting business in the Middle East. All sorts of things can happen. So I want to be very clear with you just at the outset that the people that you're associated with are going to just change everything for you. Who are you associating with? Who do you spend your time with? Who are you trying to learn from? Are you just sitting around trying to learn from the people in your current firm that don't have high goals for yourselves? Who are you associated with? Even your choice of a spouse or can have a lot to do with it. I mean, if your spouse has high expectations, you're probably going to rise to that level and so forth. So the best law firms, the best schools are going to make you be surrounded by people that have high expectations of themselves. And the higher you go up the chain, the more you'll find the most successful people in any profession are surrounding themselves with successful people. If you're in a law firm, you should be trying to get work from the most successful partners. And if whatever you're doing, if you're in a law firm and there's 10 associates and 8 of them are just kind of doing things, and then the other 2 are like really doing well, you should associate with and have high goals. You associate with that associates that's doing that. So, in order to be successful, you really need to surround yourself with people that don't accept mediocrity, that aren't going places, and don't demand more for themselves. I was at a conference not too long ago, and there was a guy that I sat next to. I have no idea what he was doing this conference because certainly there were he was kind of an outlier by massive amounts of everyone there. But he said that his ability to start a very successful business had nothing to do with uh, anything else than just making lots of small decisions with a goal, and just continually stacking those decisions on top of one another. You know, there's a famous analogy, and I'll just give it real quickly, that when a plane takes off, an airplane that takes off, starts flying from one part of the world to another part of the world. And it's not like the plane just takes off and goes someplace and is hoping it finds it. It's making thousands of course corrections. I used to fly a plane, and you're just and I flew it before there was GPS and things you could turn on that would guide the plane. You have to make all these decisions. We used to go towards beacons, which has been being done since like the 1920s. But you'd fly towards a beacon, which would show you you're going someplace, and the beacon would just have a faint beep, and then as you got closer, it beep more and more, and so you know where you're at, and then you fly towards another beacon. So you're making all these course corrections all the time to get to your goal. That's what an airplane does. That's exactly what you should be doing with your career. You should have a goal, and you make lots of small decisions. You spend time with people that are going to share your ways of thinking about the world and approach to problems. And by the way, I just want to tell you that the meat of this webinar is not even started. Like, I'm going to tell you about a lot of different things, but I want you to understand these important point first, because spending time and surround yourself with people that are successful are the ones likely to succeed. You know, in every law firm I was ever in, there would always be these people that were kind of negative on working there. A lot of them, they would stop by my office and share their negativity, close the door, and those are not the people that you want to be associated with. You do not want to be that sort of person. You do not want to be that sort of person that gravitates towards negativity. You want to be the sort of person that does the opposite, that surrounds yourself with people that are going to win. And you know who those people are. And you do not want to be one of the people that's not going to win, that's negative. It doesn't matter what firm you're at. I mean, if you go and you give it all, you're all at a firm, and you're positive and you support the firm, you will get positive recommendations, a good reputation in the legal community, and all sorts of stuff. And surround yourself with competitive people means that successful people means you're going to be motivated to compete with them. And you're going to succeed to the extent that you surround yourself with positive people. What you're doing right now is surround yourself with someone that knows about success, which is very important. I recommend the more of these webinars you go to, the more all this stuff's going to stack on top of each other, and the better off you're going to be. And I've noticed myself that anytime I surround myself with very successful people, they're all almost universally competitive. They will not, they're competitive even to the extent that they're not sharing information. I had a very funny thing happen. I was about 3 or 4 years into my recruiting career, which 20 plus years ago. I applied to Stanford Business School, and just on a whim, and I got in, which at the time I was like, what the hell? Because I certainly didn't have kind of the quantitative background and things, but I just thought it'd be fun to apply and see what happens. And I remember going to an event for the first year students that were going to be enrolling, which I enrolled, but then I never went, which is something they'd never seen hardly. But I remember going to this event, and they invited all the people that were graduating to the event. And so it was all the new first year law students with the people that were graduating. And the funniest thing happened. I went up to everyone and I kind of asked them what they were doing, and a lot of them were starting businesses, and they refused to tell me what they were doing. Really, they were just kind of very vague about it and so forth. And so they were being competitive, with first year, and that's how the most competitive people are. It's very funny. So when you see people and they're kind of not sharing information, so those are competitive people. It's very stressful many times spending time with very successful people, because they're comparing each other they're competing with each other. It's very ridiculous. So the more successful people you're around, they compare their homes, spouses, cars, education, awards, jobs, and whatnot. I remember when I was working at a big law firm, the first one I started at Quinn Emanuel, the partners there were competitive on their beach houses in Newport and Malibu and stuff. And And the cases they got, there's how the people are. I used to live in a nice street in Malibu, where there's about 15 houses. Now I did not by any stretch of imagination live I'm in the nicest house there, but there were all these people. There was like James Cameron, Kelsey Grammer, their wives, Kelsey's ex-wife, who they were living together. Anyway, there were some billionaires in the street, and in the neighborhood. The street has some really nice houses, not so nice houses, and everybody there, was competitive. Everyone I talked to was name dropping. They were competitive with who they knew. They were competitive with things they bought. They were competitive with their travels, all these sorts of things. And I only lived on the street for like 3 years, but during these years, you know, I remember that a lot of the houses, went up for sale because people were just suddenly getting divorced. And, and I think, a lot of what happened is everyone was unhappy because everyone was comparing each other to one another. And it was kind of a negative, there was a lot of negativity there, and not among like James Cameron and other people, there's a lot of negativity. It was insular and competitive. And I think that people were surrounded by people that thought they could get better spouses and thought were dissatisfied because they weren't keeping up. And it's the same thing, with the best law schools. I'm gonna just run this point by you again, just so you really get it. But best law schools, you're going to be surrounding yourself with people that have high goals for themselves. Not everyone does. You're going to surround yourself with people that will not tolerate mediocrity, and that is going to have a lot to do with how successful you are. The more high achievers you surround yourself with, the better off you're going to be. So you keep up with them. So again, to make sure I run this point home back to you, you're going to rise or fall depending on the quality of the people you associate with, also the quality of learning that you do. So you should always be going to events like this webinar. You should always be reading books that are going to help you, watching YouTube videos, all sorts of stuff. I exercise like an hour a day. So I'll work on a Stairmaster. I'll run on a treadmill. And during those times, what I do is I don't just sit there and watch Netflix. I put on inspirational YouTube videos that teach me new things about business, or running my relationships and everything. So I can continually better myself. I spend an hour a day doing that, and it works. And so you need to make sure. And I keep saying this again and again because this is the single biggest reason that people fail and never reach anywhere. They try to surround them. You need to surround yourself with people that have high expectations of themselves, and finding these people is very important. If you're in a law firm, you should be surrounding yourself and learning from partners and learning what they did to get where they're at, and respecting them for where they're at, and learning that. So do that. Now, one thing that I notice, and again, this is a very important point, is people that go to the best law schools typically start out in the best firms, and they are actually much more likely to divorce the practice of law, mean they will leave often than people that didn't go to the best law schools, because people that go to best law schools will go to certain firms, so there won't be all these pressures. But people that go to the best law firms, like the better the law firm, the more people will leave. People that go to Cravath or Sullivan and Cromwell are often the most unlikely to stay there, because that's just unbelievably competitive. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's incredibly difficult to stay employed there. And people will leave the practice of law a lot of times in big firms. I meet them all the time. I mean, all the time. I look at resumes. They just can't keep up with what's expected. They can't keep up with the group. They can't do the massive hours and demands, and so they become dissatisfied with their lives and their careers, and they think that they can't advance because it's just too competitive, and so it just makes them feel like they just can't keep up and they're not good enough, and so and the expectations of the group are more than they can handle, and that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes you will get into groups that are so freaking competitive you can't handle it, and that's what happens to people that join these large law firms. It often happens in New York, because New York is the most competitive market. I mean, certainly Los Angeles is, and Chicago, but New York is very, very competitive. And so that particular genre, the large law firms there, would work much better, if they surrounded themselves with different types of people. So you can go too far with this too. And, again, if you go to like, different parts of the country, like Texas and, I don't know, Utah, rural areas, and, people, are around people that, are happy to want to keep their marriages going, more serious. It's everything. And whereas in other places, people are more likely to be dissatisfied with their spouses because they're around people that are like that. So, that your odds of doing well are going to diminish unless you surround yourself with people with high expectations. And, and that's just, how it works. Talk about the schools. And again, different motivations will come depending on where you're from. So you may have gone to a public high school, and you can see there that people are more directed towards sports, or the opposite sex, or other things where there's much less likely to be a great future. Your parents may also set your expectation. So, I had the benefit of my father went to Harvard. So I started hearing about how to get into Harvard from the time I was like 5. Actually, I didn't get in, but it set my goals high enough that, I went to the University of Chicago, which, obviously isn't ranked as highly, but it's pretty close. So he pushed me to do well. Your parents will often set role models for you that will push you to do well. Kids from high achieving families have a much better chance of being highly competitive because of who they're surrounded by, their parents, and their parents have all these goals and tell them what they did and tell them how they need to function. So, again, not attending a top law school will often determine how well you do, what you think is possible. And, I don't want to go too far more into this, but, major law firms, all this sort of thing will determine the level of success you're likely to have. And, being around people from large law firms. I know a guy that went to Cravath, which is arguably the hardest firm to get into in the country. And he ended up surrounding himself with people that became running giant hedge funds and became worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, that certainly wouldn't have happened had he been going to, didn't go to Columbia Law School and, worked with people at Cravath that had that sort of thinking and did those sorts of things with their careers. So, okay. And again, large law firms will have, different types of, clients. So you will work for, bigger clients, depending on the size law firm you're working at. That will teach you how to do different types of work. So if you're at a smaller firm, so I want to explain to you kind of the benefits of moving up to a large law firm and continually doing that throughout your career. If you are at a large law firm, you're going to you're working for clients who can afford to spend tons of money on their legal services. So you will be able to go into a lot of depth on problems. You'll be able to really be able to do very, very high quality work. You will learn the difference between average work and good work. If you're at a smaller firm, those clients won't have as much money to the extent that, the smallest firms, the attorneys are going to be cutting corners, and the quality of their work will not be as good or as thorough as it might otherwise be if they were at a larger firm. So that's the kind of people you surround yourself with. I just want you to understand, if you are at a smaller firm, you are learning work habits and getting work from clients that are not going to enable you to rise as high. The same thing with the attorneys there. They're going to have a harder time getting, the smaller the firm, the harder it's going to be to get paid. I know of a guy whose father was an attorney, and he was a solo practitioner, and he had gone to a good law school and everything. But he said, he was lucky to get paid 60% of what he billed, to clients, as opposed, every time he billed things. Whereas at a larger firm, that certainly wouldn't be acceptable. So again, larger firms give you a brand. They give you the ability to cultivate larger clients at public companies and that sort of thing, instead of lower level clients. It could be individuals, divorce, personal injuries, so forth. So, when you're at a smaller firm, your objective should be to get larger clients. So in divorce, you get huge clients, you spend millions of dollars on a divorce, but whatever you're doing, you want to get the largest clients possible. So, I've given you kind of the prognosis, and now, I'm going to talk to you about what matters, and I'll go into a lot of detail on this. So the first thing that matters is your motivation, drive, and the enthusiasm you have. Your motivation, if you're motivated to improve yourself, is going to make a difference. If you have drive, if you do not lose your enthusiasm, you give up, which most attorneys do. It's very sad. The majority of them kind of give up and accept what they have. You have to make decisions, like the example I told you with the airplane flying towards a certain destination. You have to be making decisions all along the way of what's strategic about getting you where you're going. You have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that have big goals. And keep in mind, if you're 25, you can do this over a period of 5 or 10 years, but you have to develop that motivation. Your practice area, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Like, how does your practice area limit you to working in a large law firm or a big law firm? And then the most important thing, of course, is the business you develop. Anybody, by the way, if you generate large clients that pay large fees, can get into a large law firm. That's all it takes. You can look at large law firms all day long, and you will see people in there, in every large law firm, that didn't go to the best schools, that don't look as good on paper, but for whatever reason, they had the ability to generate business. And that's all that matters. Law firms, the biggest law firms for partners, if you have business from the biggest clients, it doesn't matter who you are. Out of the 200 largest law firms in the country, if you have enough business, I would say 150 of them will hire you. They don't care where you went to law school. They want the business, and they want that revenue coming in. And then other things, of course, your reputation in the legal community, and then how willing you are to continue to look for better jobs. So what does that mean? I'll just talk a little bit about that. Looking for better jobs. So presumably you're on this webinar to learn how to get a better job. So if you start out at a small law firm that's not that good, and you continually are in the market, and you get into a bigger firm with bigger clients, then that's going to have good results. If you you're continually moving to better and better firms, you will be able to do it. I know one guy, he, by the way, has read all of my articles on harrisonbarnes.com, which is my blog. He's read all of my articles on BCG and studied them, right? Printed them out, read them, and underlined them, did all these sorts of things. And what did he do? He started out, he went to a great law school, like a top 10 or 15 law school. He worked in an average firm during his first summer and our second summer, didn't get an offer, came out, failed the bar, and got fired, I think, from his first job, which was at a small law firm, because he didn't get an offer as a summer associate for the firm he worked in, and got fired, started at a small law firm, and then was like, I'm just going to take my life and turn around. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to follow this guy that seems like he knows what he's talking about, and I'm going to do the things he recommends. And then fast forward 10 years later, and he's a firm that's one of the probably top 10 most prestigious firms in his practice area in the United States. So I'm telling you, all this stuff is possible. Doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter if you failed the bar. It doesn't matter if you got fired. None of this stuff matters. What matters is your ability to continue to move yourself up and learn like you're doing today. This, what you've heard so far, could change the entire direction of your life. And I'm serious. Like, this stuff is powerful, and it will. And I'm not bragging when I say that. Your ability to understand this, write this stuff down, is going to change your career and your life. And so I'm going to talk about these things that you need to get into a better firm in a little bit more detail right now. So motivation, drive, and enthusiasm. I think you are motivated because you're on this webinar. That is fantastic. The majority of successful people, almost all of them, are incredibly motivated. It's just crazy. Like, when I spend my time around these people, like, I'm just blown away. by the most successful people's motivation. I feel like, whatever. I mean, bad things happen to them. They lose jobs, they lose clients, they get fired, they fail the bar, they don't go to good law schools, they whatever, but they stay motivated. They're just like, whatever. That's a blip in the radar. It's funny that Elon Musk started the SpaceX company, and all those rockets were exploding. And he's like, every time that happened, he would like post something on X, which I guess it was Twitter back then, saying we're one step closer, to our goal of having a great rocket. And he's all these failures, and just he doesn't care. Like he's motivated. He knows he's going to get to his destination. So people that want to be successful, rich, powerful, respected are motivated. What can you do to get motivated? You can do all sorts of things. You can, you surround yourself with people that are motivated. You have goals for big things. You watch YouTube videos. You surround yourself with people that are successful. You read books like Think and Grow Rich. You do all these things to be motivated and to learn what you need to do to be successful, powerful, and respected. And again, just what you've learned today already should change the direction of your life. I'm serious. If you want to be successful and powerful and respected, you need to be motivated to do so. You need to set a goal. You need to not lose and crawl under a rock when bad things happen to you. You just need to get up and keep fighting. I mean, what do you think happens to politicians? I mean, look at someone like Donald Trump, who is sued for all these things for hundreds of millions of dollars, is convicted of felonies, has all these horrible things said about him. Well, most people, when that happens to them, would just give up and walk away. Kamala Harris, when she failed the bar and didn't go to good law school, a lot of people would get up and walk away, or think that they failed and everything's over. Do it at the age of 25. But no, I mean, the most successful people continually stay motivated. They're resilient. They bounce back. They don't allow setbacks to hold them back. They just keep fighting. And you need to keep fighting, whoever you are, like whatever you're trying to do, you need to keep fighting. You cannot you learn from your setbacks, you learn from your mistakes, but you continually get better and better. And if you're not doing well, you ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? And what can I learn? And you just keep bouncing back. And this is what successful people do. They don't allow anything to hold them back. They just keep fighting. Then even if the world's against them, even if they feel like that they can't go on, they continually fighting because they know in their mind that they're going to be successful. When I was young, I used to, I saw this thing about what makes people most successful in relationships with the other sex, meaning a man, I guess, and then what makes people most successful in business, and what do they do that other people aren't doing, and and I saw this stuff, and and I came to believe it. I mean, you have to be motivated. So I started listening. I still have it. I would do these like self-hypnosis tapes at night. I would fall asleep like to a hypnotist that would then go into this whole diatribe while I was sleeping about how I was self-confident, how I was going to be successful, how all these things were going to change, what I would, what I was, the kind of person I was going to be. I surrounded myself, I listened to that stuff, and then I read books, because this person that you're seeing today is not someone that just suddenly started this business or went to these schools or did all this stuff. This is someone that's continually been working on themselves. And even to this day, I listen to self-hypnosis tapes at night. Something bad happens to me in a relationship. I was not having good relationships. If something bad happens to me where I get attacked or something by above the law or whatever, like I don't care. Like I keep going, and that's what you need to do. Your desire to succeed needs to be internal, and you need to never give up, and you need to keep your drive going, and you need to realize that all these bad things are going to happen to you. Attorneys lose cases. Attorneys may lose 5 or 6 cases in a row, and they're like, I don't care. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to continually be a better litigator. I'm going to do better in transactions. I'm going to learn from the mistakes I made. And they keep having this drive and enthusiasm, and that's what makes them successful. So again, it doesn't matter where you frickin' went to law school. It doesn't matter where you're working. If you stay motivated, great things are going to happen to you. I have no doubt about it. You need to be motivated, and that's the most important degree for success, because you cannot allow yourself to lose. If you feel like you're losing, and you're a loser and you're not going to do better, then you've already lost. You need to stay incredibly motivated in your life and your career. There's nothing more important. You have to you cannot allow setbacks to determine who you're going to be. Your past does not equal your future. You need to stay motivated. And, and most attorneys, hopefully you're not in this group, but most attorneys don't stay motivated. Even the large law firms, I see people there, they don't stay motivated. Successful people are never comfortable. They're never comfortable where they're at today. They're worrying about where they're going to be tomorrow. And so, one of the benefits of not going to the best law school or working the best law firm is you can continually stay motivated to move up and to do better. And you can do better. And the benefit you have if you're at a poor law firm or you didn't go to a great law school is that each step of the way, you're going to be learning something. You're going to get to that level where you need to be at the same level as the people that you're around are successful, the same level of successful people. You're going to, instead of just starting out at this huge level like most attorneys do, that go to top law schools and getting like in over your head and overwhelmed and quitting, you're going to, each step of the way, you're going to get a little bit better. You're going to be more motivated. You're going to be, do better and better. This is what happens with a lot of times with boxers. So a boxer will start out and they will fight people that aren't that good. And then they'll fight more people that are a little bit better. And they'll fight people that are a little better and a little bit better. And so they'll continually get all these wins and stuff. And then they get to the point where they're competing for the world championship or whatever, and they're because they've gotten all this experience and they've moved to better and better opponents instead of just starting out at the top. If an amateur boxer just started off that boxing against a world champion, they would lose, and they wouldn't have had the time to develop themselves and get better and better and better. So, most attorneys will lose their confidence early in their careers, and that's what happens, especially to large people that go to large law firms. So all of this is important. You need to be motivated. You need to do things like write down where you're going to be. You need to give yourself affirmations. I'm going to be this type of person. I'm going to be this type of person. I'm going to do this. And the more motivated you are, the more successful you're going to be. It's as simple as that. You have to stay motivated. You cannot accept where you're at. Again, the past does not equal the future. I recently switched accountants. The accountants I had, the current accountant was not motivated and they weren't enthusiastic. The new one I hired was in his mid-60s, loves what he does, gets up at 4 a.m. He loves work so much. He reads about different types of accounting all the time. He's got them in his trunk, and just, everywhere. I mean, he's just all over it. And he lives and breathes it. He loves what he does. And the former accountant was just difficult to reach. He would always be sailing and things. He, of course, wasn't nearly as motivated, as enthusiastic as his work and about his work. Some guy in his mid-60s is growing his business and driven, incredibly enthusiastic. And so, the more motivated and driven, enthusiastic you are, the more successful you're going to be. It's just that motivation will move mountains. You need to be motivated, and you cannot not be motivated. You need to be more motivated than your peers. People that are motivated do well. I was working recently with an attorney that lost his job in a big firm. He was fired, and he felt like he never got a lot of feedback. But the one piece of feedback he got was, everyone, all your other associates here are giving it everything they have to be successful and to get more work and to learn, to partner, and just giving it all they have, and you're just kind of coasting along. And that person, a lot of times attorneys from big law schools and things get into firms and they're coasting. They think, oh, the firm owes me this amount of money. I should be making more money, or this person got this bonus, or why should I be expected to do this? And all these attitudes that are limiting. They're not motivated. And you have to be motivated. You need to guard your motivation. You need to not surround yourself with people that aren't motivated. And, you need to take rejection as something that makes you succeed. So what does that mean? So a lot of people get rejected and they think, oh, this is horrible. I didn't get this, I'm wrong. I mean, this is what attorneys do a lot of times when applying to firms. Like attorneys will apply to 5 or 6 firms and they'll get rejected. Don't think, oh, yeah, I give up. Maybe I shouldn't do my job search. I'm not going to keep trying. What's the point? Other attorneys will apply with me to 500 firms and they'll get several interviews, and because they're motivated, like, I'm going to get this done. If this placement firm is going to help me, then I'm going to do whatever I can. So you need to take rejection not as something that makes you upset, but something that's like rocket fuel, meaning that gives you more enthusiasm to try even harder and to do better. Rejection means rocket fuel. It's not something to withdraw from. It's something that makes you angry, and you want to you're going to try harder and you're going to do better. This is fuel. This is like something that keeps you going, not the opposite. And a lot of attorneys get crushed. They get crushed by the firms we're working with. A lot of times, it's very common. People will join a firm and they will work with someone that is just completely horrible. Like, the person will criticize all their work. They'll be difficult. They'll be not nice to them. They'll make them think they're not a good attorney. And I knew one lady. I think I talked about it in last week's webinar. I knew one woman in a law firm that was so incredibly difficult to work with that almost everyone that worked with her, literally, and we're talking about like back then, like one of the top 20 largest and biggest firms in the country, Dewey Ballantyne. Everybody that worked with this woman literally quit the practice of law. When I learned about this, I mean, one of the last women that had worked with her had gone to Columbia Law School and been like a Harlan Fiske scholar, which is like, I don't know, top 30% of her class, and was so like crushed by this woman that it's hard to believe, but it's true. She became a waitress. And think about this. I mean, just so completely crushed that she became a waitress at the age of maybe 28 or something like that. And I don't know what she's doing now, but that's what she did. That's how bad people can have their spirit crushed. So, you need to believe that you're unstoppable, that you're going somewhere, and that you're going to continually do better and better. And if you're motivated to get into a large law firm, I'm telling you right now, you will. If you just keep pounding away, never give up, and learn what you need to do, you will get into a large law firm. Now, you may not believe this. You may not believe it right now. And if you don't believe it, then you're already defeated. So let me just be clear about that. If you do not believe you're going to work in a large law firm, then you never will. You have to believe it. You have to basically work yourself up into a white heat saying, this is exactly where I'm going. And, if you want, success in the practice of law, in anything in your life, you will get there. You have to have that motivation. Tony Robbins at the beginning of his book, Unlimited Power, talks about a guy that had these horrible things happen to him, with everything leading up to him having this horrible motorcycle accident where his face was scarred, where he lost use, was in a wheelchair, and all these things. And this guy, most people that were in that situation would just give up. They'd be like, okay, my life is done. But he ended up in a few years running for Congress, marrying a very beautiful woman. I mean, when you're motivated, anything can happen. And so I just want to be very, very clear with you that if you do not have this, then you need to get it. What have I told you to do? I've told you to write down big goals, look at them every day. I've told you to read books that are going to help you, especially Think and Grow Rich. I told you to do self-hypnosis, to have affirmations, to all these things that you continually refer back to again and again and again and again. And if you do that, you will be successful. No one that carries a mind like this or has this in their head is not going to be successful. This is all you need to do. Like this one thing right here, just continue to believe in yourself. You're going to reach somewhere, is going to get there. Most people do not have that motivation, and that's why they don't succeed. If you find the top 1% of the most successful people in the world, they're motivated. They have that. So you cannot afford under any circumstance to not have motivation. You cannot afford under any circumstance to surround your people without that sort of motivation. You cannot afford it. Your life, it will be as big as you want it to be. It's as simple as that. If you do not try to make your life bigger and better, it's never going to change. You're just always going to be where you're at if you're not motivated to succeed. That means that if you're an attorney working in a small town in Oklahoma, and you want to be in the biggest firm in New York, which, by the way, is possible, you need to have the motivation to do that. And that motivation over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years is going to get you there. That's the most important thing to understand. And it works. I could give you countless examples of something similar to that. The people with motivation succeed. So the next thing, and there's not a ton of these that I'll go through, but I mean, these are all very, very important. I understand, that this has been, we talked a lot about this, but I'm really trying to change your life here. And if you listen, it will change your life. The decisions you make that advance your goal of going to work in a large law firm are going to have everything to do with being successful. If you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. You need to make the right decisions. So I'm going to tell you what those decisions are right now, and I'm going to tell you how each of these decisions are going to make you successful or not successful, regardless of what you're doing now. So the first thing is the practice area you choose. There are certain practice areas where you're more likely to get into a large law firm than others. So for practice areas where you're working for individuals, don't have a lot of money, are obviously going to be very difficult to move into a large law firm. The city you work in. So if you take a job in a small city, that's often going to determine what's going to happen to you. If you go to work in a large city, it's just what it is. Larger cities have bigger clients. Larger cities have more important work. That's just how it is. So, what decision do you make? If you make a decision to start your career in a very small market, that's going to have an impact on what happens to you. If you make your decision to only look for jobs in small markets, that's going to make a decision about if you can work in a large law firm. And then the sort of law firms that you join are also going to have a lot of impact on your ability to get a large law firm and how successful or unsuccessful you are likely to be. I started my career in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, when I started my career, unbeknownst to me, there were a lot of legal recruiters. And if I had started my career in an area like Detroit, where I was from, or a small town like Midland or Bay City, Michigan, where I was clerking, I never would have been exposed to this. I never would have had the opportunity to have this sort of company. I never would have found my calling. So, larger cities can often change the direction of your career. So you need to be very strategic about where you're working. It has to do with the people you surround yourself with. So, I can't tell you, what decisions you should be making. But if you read my articles, if you print them up, if you read them, if you underline them, if you watch my free webinars online or watch webinars like this is going to tell you how to make the right decisions. And I say this as someone that's helped thousands of attorneys get jobs and does nothing but eat and breathe this. I've always been here since I started it. So, I can tell you, based on what I've seen work and not work for tens of thousands of attorneys, I can tell you the sorts of decisions you should be making. And if you review my content on Harrison Barnes is inspirational, and my content on BCG talks about career decisions, you will learn how to make the right decision. Just like the plane I talked to you about earlier that takes off in one location and then ends up in another based on making all these decisions and changing its course countless times. So you can make decisions that will either take your career forward, or you can make decisions that will take your career back. Every decision needs to be geared towards working towards the type of law firm that's this large law firm and not away from it. If you move down, so you're at a mid-sized firm and you move to a smaller firm, not a good decision. That's not going to take you towards working a large law firm. If you were at a small law firm and you move to a little bigger law firm, that's going to get you there. A little bit better law firm. If you move from a mid-sized law firm to a bigger mid-sized law firm, if you move from a bigger sized law firm to a big size law firm, a medium sized law firm, and a big city, that's going to take you closer to that. So all of these things that you do, are going to take you there. And I'm going to say something right at the outset that's going to change that you need to take in mind if you want to work in a large law firm. It's very, very important. You should be trying to get work in a practice area that services large clients and not individuals. Individuals do not have a lot of money to spend. So why would you be working on them when large law firms are not working for individuals? Large law firms work for companies. So you need to try to get yourself into a practice area that services large clients and not individuals. What does that mean? So I have a candidate recently that was at an insurance defense firm, which means basically representing, defending motorists and things that are in auto accidents, and the insurance companies pay them money for that, and that's insurance defense. And there's different types of insurance defense, different levels of insurance defense, but in general, insurance defense is defending individuals in auto accidents and things like that. He wanted to move up, so he was able to get an interview with and a job because he just kept having this goal in mind. He was able to get an interview and a job with a law firm that did product liability. Product liability is not insurance defense. Product liability is representing companies that have broken products that people are suing them about. And those are typically companies have a lot of money to spend. So instead of an insurance company just kind of pushing the ball along until they reach a settlement, which they do 90% of the time, you got work with a larger firm doing product liability. So suddenly, that was not an AmLaw 100 law firm, but he's in a position where he could move to an AmLaw 100 law firm if he does that, for a long period of time. So if you want to work in a major law firm, the most important thing I could tell you is you need to you need to get work from larger and larger clients. And you could start out small. You could start out small working for small companies, or you could start out working for individuals and then transition into working for small companies. But you need to find work where you're working on behalf of companies and not individuals. Now, there are certain practice areas, trust and estates, and where often large law firms will have those practice areas where you may represent individuals. But in general, no, you want to figure out, how do I get myself in a position to work for larger and larger clients? That's what AmLaw type firms do. And that's what you need to move yourself towards. You can get these larger clients. You can work on behalf of larger clients. If you do work that's very, very good for an individual who's an entrepreneur, that entrepreneur can give you more important work. If you if you put yourself in a situation where you're working for a small company and you do a good job with them, you can develop an expertise and get larger clients. I mean, all these things are important. So you need to move if you want to be in a large law firm. The most important thing is working for businesses that can write an endless series of checks, meaning at the largest law firms, those law firms will send a client a bill for like, $1.5 million for 1 month. And those companies just write a check like no problem, because they're big companies with a lot of money. If you work for an individual and you send them a bill for $10,000, they'll jump up and down and may pay you 6 or 5. And you won't have the luxury of doing a lot of work. So, you want to move towards larger and larger clients in your career. You have to, if you want to work in a big law firm, and you can do it. You can do it if you're doing personal injury right now. You can do it if you're doing insurance defense. Whatever you're doing, you need to your compass needs to be set on larger and larger clients, and larger clients have more money to spend, and that's what the big law firms do. The big law firms represent clients that have a lot of money to spend, and that's something that is just you need to understand that you need to move towards if you want to work in a larger firm. You need to figure out, how do I put myself in a position of working for clients that have a lot of money to spend. And these large clients, they'll hire the best attorneys in the largest law firms. Large law firms, by the way, they compare brands. So, if you're an attorney and you're at a mid-sized law firm, I don't know, a good firm might be like Buchalter in California, they've got offices around, and you're up against attorneys from Skadden, then you're probably going to be, representing clients that have a lot more money to spend than, Skadden clients will spend whatever, as opposed to working at your firm where your budgets are going to be limited. And, and so you need to work with clients that have a lot of money to spend. So your goal, wherever you're at, is to keep moving to larger and larger clients. And you want to get doing work on behalf of corporations. And by the way, it's not impossible. It's very, very easy. Sometimes attorneys in small law firms will develop some sort of weird, specialty. Like, I knew a woman that, and I've told the story before, but that developed a specialty in doing software services agreements. I mean, she was working in a small law firm. She got one client that did it. Then she, learned more about it. She wrote some papers about it. She was the only attorney in the country working on it. She started getting calls from companies overseas and all these things. Meanwhile, she's at a small law firm with people that don't have big goals for themselves. And suddenly she's got this thriving business, doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, doing this sort of work, and suddenly is catapulted into, the large law firm world from a small law firm developing that expertise. I have countless examples of people that have done things like this, in order to develop these niche specialties. I was talking to a woman a couple of years ago when this was a big deal. I'm just blanking out right now what the practice area is, but it's data privacy. She's a small law firm. She had one client. She needed to do some data privacy work for them, and suddenly, within 2 or 3 years, she had this huge book of business. It's like $3 million a year. She's a small law firm, and so she called me, and I was speaking to her on the phone, and she's like, "Yeah, they're only like, seventh year associate. I'm getting paid $200,000 a year." And I was like, "Are you insane? Like, you've developed this, and this is before data privacy. There were a lot of people trying to do it. You've developed this expertise and you're bringing all this business. I mean, you should be making $1 million a year at a big firm." And she got it. She got a job at a big firm, paying $1 million a year. Now, I didn't get her the job. When she realized how marketable she was, she had friends from law school that were big firms, and she called them and asked them, kind of interview there. This is what I'm doing. But you can develop these expertises and all these things for a small law firm. You can start out by, maybe you do it for one client. You do it for one client, you're like, wow. And then you write papers about it. Then you give talks and seminars. All these ways of developing business and an expertise or something can be very, very powerful. And that's, by the way, one of the most, you should write this down, be very, very, and I want you to make sure you write this down and you don't forget it, that if you are at a small law firm, you need to develop some sort of expertise in some sort of practice area that other people aren't doing, that companies need, that you can get business from, and you can do it all day long. I saw this woman that I got into a large law firm. It is a crazy story. So she was working in Delaware as a litigator with a large law firm there. She didn't go to a great law school. She went to like maybe George Mason or something. It's a good law school, but I mean, she went to George Mason. She gets fired as a first-year associate. I don't know what it was for, but she gets fired, and she's there, and she's like, "What the hell am I going to do?" And she realizes that there's a need for attorneys and law firms, and she saw her own law firm doing that, to run different things. If they have a Delaware corporation or whatever their clients do, to have a attorney based in Delaware working on some corporate documents. So she calls and emails all of these law firms around the country saying, "I can do this work for you. I can do it, low cost. I'm an attorney in Delaware. I have this background." She got one client. She turned it into several, and literally just sitting there as a solo practitioner, developed this huge book of business. When I say huge, I mean not that big, but maybe doing, like $700,000 or $800,000 a year without any experience in corporate law, with nothing but her motivation and ability to think about what can I do that would generate business for myself. How can I make money? What can I do? And she developed this expertise as a solo practitioner with no training in corporate law, with no one helping her, with no big name or anything like that. She suddenly was doing work on behalf of large law firms that needed someone to, finish up these corporate formalities and stuff. And she took herself from a solo practitioner to a very, very good mid-sized law firm, where she was doing even more complex corporate work. And it wasn't even in Delaware, it was another state. But suddenly it was working in a large mid-sized law firm, and from there she'll be able to go to a large one. So I'm just telling you, if you're motivated like this woman was, if you're motivated like the woman data privacy, if you're motivated, you can do incredibly well. I saw another attorney do this with something similar, not a privacy related practice area, and he got interested in it. Excuse me. From the time he was like a second-year associate, and he started reading everything he could about it, case law, building these files, all this sorts of stuff, and just very, very interested in it. Writing papers, contacting firms saying he did this and he knew about it. And he started off at a excuse me, at a smaller law firm, and used this to move into a larger and larger law firm. And by the time he was like 12 years out, had a $3 million book of business. And again, this is someone that started out small. So I'm telling you, develop some sort of expertise. That's all you need to do. This one thing, that's a decision you make. You think of something that other people aren't doing, just like a business. So a business goes out in the market, and if it does something that everyone else is doing, its odds of succeeding are very slim. So, why would, how can just a hamburger place that has hamburgers and fries compete with McDonald's? Is that smart? Or In-N-Out Burger, or whatever, the Burger King? Like, how do they do that? Like, is that a really good move for the person to start a restaurant doing that? Or do you start something that no one else is doing, where there's demand in the market? Maybe you're in a up and coming city, and no one is there's just chain restaurants there. Maybe you start some unusual thing like a French restaurant or whatever, where no one's doing that. I mean, you think about what is the product I can offer that no one else is offering that I can sell. So that right here, I just want you to write this down, is something that has changed more attorneys' lives than I can possibly even think about. I mean, it's incredible. Like, so you make decisions that are going to drive you towards bigger and bigger firms, and make you better and better and better. I knew another attorney that went to, and I just keep coming up with these examples. He went to a unaccredited California law school, and he met someone. He was at a not a very good firm. Well, actually, what happened to him? He got an LLM from Harvard as well. So that definitely is a good thing, I guess. And he didn't just get one LLM. He got an LLM from an average school first, then he went to a little bit better school, then he went to a little bit better school for an LLM. So he got a series of like 4 or 5 LLMs after graduating from this unaccredited law school. And then he got into Harvard. And then after he got into Harvard, somehow he got a job at a pretty good, I would say, mid-sized firm, but pretty good one. And he got there, and everyone was like, why did we hire this person? He went to this 4th-tier law school. Wasn't even accredited. That's where his law degree is from. We don't care about the LLMs. Somehow he got hired there. He got there. No one would give him work. He was just devastated. Like, he turned in, I met him right when he was starting work, was enthusiastic and everything. And he was just beaten down and felt absolutely horrible about himself, and no one would give him work. And basically it was because this office, he wasn't hired by that office. He was hired. It just didn't respect his background. So he got a job at a smaller firm. And when he was at the smaller firm, he met someone from Russia that needed some corporate work that was setting up a business in the US. He did work for that person. And then that person referred more and more people to him, and more people. And, fast forward 5 years, and he's at an AmLaw 100 law firm because he's got all this business. So I'm just telling you that develop some sort of expertise. He had some expertise in setting up companies for people from Russia, and then referring work to employment people to say, I mean, I don't know what it was, but he did very, very well. So the other thing is, you should be working in law firms and not in-house for the government. So if you are currently working in the government, or you're currently working in-house, your odds of getting into an AmLaw 100 or big law firm are very, very slim. Why would they hire someone from another practice setting? They do not know the quality of work that's required. You are not in a position to get business. It's just not a good career move. You need to be in a law firm. I don't care how small a law firm is. You can move up, but you need to be in a law firm. And it's certainly possible, to move from things like being a U.S. attorney to a major law firm. But in general, large law firms only hire from other large law firms, or people that have business or are moving up in smaller law firms. There's just different pressures, cultures, experience that you get in an in-house job as part of a law firm. If you are wanting to move, get into a big law firm, you're going to have to make sure that you're working in a law firm. You're not going to move up until you get out of another practice setting. You just need to be committed to it. You need to be committed to being a law firm, and not another practice setting. Another point just to bring up, if you go in-house, you are going to bounce between different in-house jobs. and have a very difficult career, which happens to most people. If you are in the government, you're going to have a limited timeline there. If you are in any other practice and then a law firm, you're always going to be basically in a position where you're not building a business. If you're in a law firm, and the benefits of working in a law firm are, you're going to be able to be in a practice setting that you can do for your entire life. You can work until your 80s or 90s if you're in a law firm. When you develop business, you can work as long as you choose. You will have a career for life. But if you develop business, but if you choose to be in another practice setting, you are not developing a career. Being in a law firm means that you're continually generating business, you're continually generating referral, you're continually getting work, you're continually growing yourself, continually improving in your practice area. I mean, all these things happen in a law firm that don't happen in any other practice setting. And working in a law firm means you're developing a business. Law firm jobs mean working in a law firm when you start developing business mean that you're going to continually be running your own business. The more business you get, what happens is the law firm just becomes something that gives you a brand and hires associates for you and secretaries. I mean, and then you pay them a percentage of your business, typically 65% or 1/3 for doing that. That helps grow you. So you want to work in a law firm. And then when you move between law firms, you continually need to move to better and better law firms. Law firms, by the way, respect them. There's this kind of Horatio Alger thing that goes on where law firms respect you when you're trying to move up. Law firms, people love it when people are trying to improve themselves. So, if you're trying to work in move from a smaller city to a bigger city, or you're trying to work in a law firm that's going to challenge you more, law firms love that because most attorneys from big law firms move down or out. Most attorneys, move to firms that are the same. Most attorneys, just kind of get stuck in a rut somewhere in a law firm and don't have these goals and motivation. So, when you're looking to work in different places, you need to be moving up. So every job you have, you go into every law firm you're interviewing with, by the way, when you interview with them, they're going to ask why you're moving. And this is the big question. So sometimes people will say, oh, I don't like the people at my existing law firm. They're not nice or, whatever. I mean, they think in that sort of, or I need a better job, I need to make some more money. But they're not moving to better and better law firms. Your reasons for moving need to be based on improving. They need to be based on improving your practice area. They need to be based on, working in a law firm that's going to challenge you more, that's going to have bigger clients. And this is what people want to hear when you're moving. They don't want to hear that you're moving because you're unhappy with your existing job. They want to hear that you're moving because you're trying to do better. If you say that, this is a secret, by the way, again, will change the course of your career and your life. If you say that when you're trying to move law firms and you're saying I'm moving because I want to be in a better law firm that challenges me more and so forth, that's how people get jobs. Most people do not get jobs when they interview. By the way, I would say 8 out of 10 candidates that go to an interview, these are my candidates when I prepare them, but 8 out of 10 people typically, when you're on your own interviewing, you're interviewing through a recruiter, at BCG, it's higher than 8 out of 10 people. The average is basically 8 out of 10 people. 8 out of 10 people when they interview for a job will not get it. They won't get it because they go in with no plan. There's no real good reason for them moving, or they don't convey the level of enthusiasm that they should be in order to get a job in a large law firm. They are a bigger firm. They don't have any real reason other than they're trying to make more money or they're unhappy or whatever. There's no reason for the move other than they're unhappy. So each move you make needs to be to a better and better firm, and you have to have reasons for moving to each firm. You move to one firm and maybe you've challenged yourself to, and you've given it all you have, but it's limiting you in some respect. It's limiting you because this has clients, or it's limiting you because you can't get more expertise in your practice here. All these things impact if a law firm's going to hire you or not. So you have to have reasons that you're moving up. If you want to improve your career, by the way, like I just, if you're one of these 8 out of 10 people that goes to an interview and doesn't get it, what you're doing wrong is you don't have good enough reasons to tell the firm why you're moving. And that's what you need. You need to have good reasons, and they need to typically be that you're trying to improve. Law firms and the world do not respect when people are moving down, because if you're moving down, that means you didn't succeed where you were at. And then someone else has to take a chance on you. When you're moving up, that means you're motivated. That's a good story. Makes the law firm think you're going to work hard when you get there. And this one little piece of advice, if you write it down, you will not waste so much time interviewing and not getting jobs. This is what you need to convey to people, and you need to convey that something is growth. Now, I see attorneys from large law firms all the time moving to smaller firms. Maybe they move to a boutique firm that's very good in their practice area. Well, they can frame that as a move up. You can frame moving to a smaller firm as a move up if you say, well, I want to move here because it's impossible to bring in public companies at the size firm I'm at. I want to be able to be in a position where I can develop a big book of business, where I can get clients, where I can be surrounded by people that only do what I do, where I get to go to trial, I get to run my transactions. Like what other moving to a smaller law firm can be seen as a growth opportunity, but you just need to think through all this when you're moving. And then, this is another piece of advice, and I realize that a lot of people on this call are not in large markets. We have almost 1,000 people here. You should do your best to work in markets with large law firms. And I'm sure most people are not in large law firms. And the big law firms are in big markets. This is how it works. They're not in small towns in Nebraska and things. They're in large markets. So you need to try to get into large markets if you want to work in a big law firm. You just need, that's where the action is. That's where the attorneys are. That's where the people you can network are. That's where the better jobs are. So, you want to try to get yourself, into a large market. Anyone can move to a larger market. I mean, you can, people often try to move to Washington, D.C. as a larger market because they know they can wave in the bar. That's insane because there's more attorneys than there are jobs, and it's a very difficult market. But if you move to, if you're working in Toledo, Ohio, and you move to Cincinnati, that's a much bigger market. So you try to get into bigger and bigger markets. And the larger the market you are, the more opportunities you're going to have to be in a big firm. Most attorneys, most law firms, big law firms, and so forth, will hire people in their market. They're not going to hire people. You can't expect to be, and I've seen it. I mean, I've had a candidate not too long ago from Boise, Idaho, that got several jobs in Los Angeles as a real estate attorney. But for the most part, law firms are going to be hiring most of the people from their market. Now, law firms love it when you move home. So if you are in numerous examples, but let's say you're in Quincy, Illinois, and you're from Chicago, Illinois. Quincy, by the way, is this city, southern Illinois, far away from Chicago. But you want to move to Chicago, and you're from Chicago. I mean, law firms like that. Law firms love it when people are moving home, and it's actually easier many times to get hired if you're moving home. Like I working with a woman not too long ago. She was working in Pittsburgh or something, and wanted to move home to Seattle, and said she was from Seattle, and all these firms loved her and interviewed her, and she was able to get jobs in Seattle, lots of them. And she told everyone she was moving home, she always wanted to be there. And she's also an Olympic athlete, which I think probably helped her quite a bit. But the point is that when you're moving home, law firms typically have less questions about, why are you moving? I mean, are you moving because you're not doing a good job at your existing firm? When you're moving in an existing market where they have many times less questions. But the longer you're in a major market, the more likely you are to develop a reputation, to be known by attorneys in large law firms. Those attorneys will also see the quality of your work. If you're working against them, you're going to meet people in major law firms. You will be in the same conference room doing deals, in the same courtroom. And if they see what a good performer you are, you're going to stick out. And if you're up against a partner in a major law firm that has a lot of clout, they're going to see the quality of work. They're going to remember you. And so you need to put yourself in a position where you have the ability to interact with and move up in terms of the quality of your firm, because they're more likely, if you're moving up and trying to work at a better and better firm, you're more likely to be able to do that in a major market. So, there's just countless decisions. And this is one of them. This particular decision as well could change the course of your life. So if you are coming out of law school and you decide you want to work in a small market without big firms, probably not a good decision. You're better off, maybe get a job in a mid-sized law firm, paying, let's just say, I'm just making these numbers up, $100,000 a year, and you don't get as good of a job with as good of a firm in a major market, but doing the same quality type of work, your long-term prognosis is going to be much better that if you work in a large market as opposed to a smaller one. So your objective needs to be to get into markets where they're big firms and where you can see yourself with your motivation moving to a much better firm. The other thing I mentioned earlier is the attorneys you spend your time with. So working in a major law firm, it's important that or any law firm, that you spend your time around attorneys that have the highest, that are doing the best. If your friends and people are attorneys in large law firms, you make that your network, that's going to help you. But you need to, in any size law firm, you need to spend your time with the best attorneys possible. If you're in a small law firm, you need to learn how are the attorneys at that law firm bringing in business that have the work. How, what decisions are they making that have that are going to help me? So you can't just expect to sit in an office and churn out work and to be successful. You need to spend your time with the best attorneys in your firm and learn what's making them successful, and then taking that information and learning from it. I will tell you that every successful person out there, but I don't care who they are, most of the time they were able to spend time with people that were very, very successful, as opposed to the opposite. So they seek out colleagues, they seek out people that are being very, very successful, and those people will help them. And you need to spend time around people that are very, very motivated, because there are people that are distracted. There are people in law firms that are alcoholics and just kind of pushing themselves around. There are people in law firms that are not doing a good job, and there are partners that are not doing a good job, and his jobs are at risk. I mean, you need to spend your time with the people that are successful. You need to expose yourself to people in bar associations for your practice area, practice group sessions, and learn from people that are leading, being leaders in your practice area and doing well. You can't expect to do well and achieve anything if you're not spending your time with people that have high motivation. So you need to, be around attorneys that have connections, or trying to develop connections that are going to, whose expertise in your practice area in the practice of law is going to rub off on you, and that are going to give you the skills and knowledge to take who they are and be even better. So, you can learn from other people by associating with people, that are going to getting better and better and better. These are the people that you want to spend your time with. And if you can seek out friends and things that are working in large law firms, you can learn how they think, and you find yourself successful people like that. You can make friends with those people and seek them out. That, by the way, this particular piece of advice will also change your life. I got into the University of Chicago, but when I got in there, I mean, by the time I did that, I had networked with people that had gone there, that that I knew from my high school. I sought out professors and things there to talk to about the school. I mean, everything I could learn, I learned. The same thing with law school. So you need to do that. I mean, you need to spend your time with the best attorneys possible. You need to try to work with attorneys in your practice area that are the best. You need to work with the attorneys that have the business. You do not want to associate with people that are losing. What does that mean? So someone is an income partner in a law firm for 10 years. They're not winning. They're not an equity partner. Someone is a counsel in a law firm that's never going to be a partner. That's not someone that's going to take you places. Someone that is a 10th year associate and looking for a job because they're not going to make partner, that's not going to take you anywhere. You need to be around the people that are going places, and that is important. The people that are winning, the people that are, what are they thinking? What sort of resilience do they have? How are they thinking? So all these things are extremely important. But you need to spend your time, and I've said it many, many times, but you need to spend your time with people that are succeeding, because if you don't, you're just going to be where everyone else is at. You're not going to get to where you want to go. When I wanted to do something before, I mean, I've sought out people that can teach me. I've sought out being the best people. I mean, you need to be around the best people that have high expectations for themselves. Next one is your practice area. I've talked about this already, but your practice area will determine, whether or not you're going to be in a large law firm. You need to be working for companies as opposed to individuals. Consumer-facing practice areas are personal injury, family law, insurance defense, consumer bankruptcy, and things like that. Consumers have less money to spend. The legal fees are lower. The quality of work you do is not as good. So that's not going to help you. Large law firms do not have those practice areas. So you need to work in a practice area, where large law firms, need you. So they're going to hire you many times, regardless of whether you went to law school or the reputation of the firm to come from. The practice area has everything to do with it. In the year 2000, 1999 up until I would say November of 2000, there was this crazy demand for corporate attorneys, and it didn't matter where you go. I mean, I would look at attorney resumes and people that went to like Pace Law School that weren't even at the top of their class, getting jobs at major American law firms in New York and other areas. And the only reason was because they were in the right practice. They were in corporate. And there was so much corporate work. There's no one to do it. That everyone who did that was getting hired anywhere. So the practice area you are in, those people, of course, most of them lost their jobs when the economy shrank, but everyone did. November 2000 was kind of a dot-com bubble that bursted. But all that has something to do with it. And so, if you're in the right practice area, you'll get hired. I've given you several examples of that. So forth, patents, kind of a classic one where people are able to move up. What happens in patent law is very interesting. Most patent attorneys, by the way, they go to law schools or college. They major in science-related disciplines, whether it's biology or physics or whatever it is, or they become engineers, and they typically don't get the best grades. Then they get jobs many times as engineers and doing science-related stuff when they graduate. They take the LSAT. They often don't do that well. Their grades are not that great when they're in these college because of or master's degrees, because they're in these science-related things where there's big curves and things. And so they come out and they typically don't go to the best law schools. Then they come out, and because they didn't go to the best law schools, they often don't even get great grades in law school because they're scientists, they're just not in the right frame of mind for that. They get jobs in small law firms, often like 2 people, 3 people law firms, but because they have that expertise in patent law, and once they get the training experience, they pass the patent bar, they move to major U.S. law firms, and it just happens all the time. If they're because they choose that's the right practice area. And I told you about corporate, right? There's other practice areas you can do, that can enable you to move into large law firms. So, food and drug law, there's hardly anybody that does that. So you move to a small law firm that does that, you get some experience, you can move to a major American law firm. I've seen that all the time. I had a woman not too long ago, she was at, some small law firm doing food and drug law. It wasn't even in a big city, and got a job without the bar at a huge law firm in San Diego. Just boom, picked up and moved from, I don't know, Lafayette, Indiana, sorry, New Orleans or something, to a big law firm in, San Diego. So, environmental law can be something, trademark law, something, anything to do with finance, tax, healthcare, insurance coverage, construction. Real estate's another big one. Labor and employment. If you do labor and employment defense, a small law firm, big law firm. So, the more transactional, by the way, meaning doing real estate, corporate and things, patent, finance, the more success you're likely to have. So, if you are interested in anything to do with transactional law, you can start out even with real estate. Real estate's another classic example. There are small law firms of 2 or 3 people that will do real estate transactions, buy and sell transactions, or leases, and all these things. And you get experience there, and you have a couple of years out, you can move to a larger law firm. And what does that mean, by the way? I want to make a couple points so once you understand this. So when you get experience in something like real estate, and you're 5 or 6 years out, and say you're a 6-year attorney, Well, if you're in a city like, I don't know, would be a decent sized city, um, uh, Atlanta, Georgia, there may only be 10 or 15 people that are 6-year attorneys that have experience in real estate law when the firm has an opening. And out of those 10 or 15, maybe only one or two are in the market. And if you're one of the people in the market applying for jobs at the time, boom, all of a sudden, you could move to a large law firm because there's no competition for the job. There's no one else in Atlanta that does it, and they can't find people. And so suddenly, because you have good experience in a small law firm, you can get a job in a large law firm. This happens all the time. So I just, again, this piece of advice can change your life and your career. If you are in the right practice area, and you're in a niche practice area that not a lot of people are doing, there's not going to be any competition for you're not going to be competing against many people because those attorneys in large law firms aren't going to be looking for jobs at the same time. ERISA is another example. That's a practice area you can start at small law firms as well. So this particular point, the practice area you're in will determine whether or not you can get to a large law firm. I've talked about this so far, but the most important point to get into a major law firm as you progress in your career is going to be developing business. This should be something that you think about every day. You should be thinking about, how am I going to get business? What am I going to do? There's articles I've written on BCG about how to get business, but you need to develop business. As you progress in your career, you're only going to succeed until based on the amount of business you have. I knew a woman in Chicago. She started out at a smaller law firm, and as a you know junior attorney, she set her sights, and I don't know why, but she set her sights on working as a partner in Latham and Watkins, and so she kept developing business. She got $1 million in business, and we moved her to another big firm. Then she got $2 million in business, and she went to a bigger firm. Then she got I don't know, $2.5 million in business. And then she went to Latham, and they said, well, just keep trying, develop more business. And she got to the point where she had $4 or $5 million in business, had not gone to a great law school, but knew what it took to get into Latham and Watkins. And incredibly, it's very, very hard to do, got a partnership position when she got to like over $5 million in business. So she just kept trying, kept doing whatever she could because she had a goal and she knew what she needed to do. Most major law firms, $1 million doesn't really do it. Even 3 million, won't get you into a lot of places. But you need to develop a lot of business as a partner. You need to, depending on your practice area, but you need to think about, how do I develop a good book of business? How do I get clients that are willing to pay me money? And that needs to be something that guides you throughout your entire career. I was at I graduated from high school. One of my friends had a graduation party, and it was at this beautiful house that he just built on a lake in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, and spent a lot of money building this brand new house. It was very successful. This guy, he did consumer facing work, which was like, anything you get. But the father, who was an attorney, was going out and giving his card to all the parents that were at the party, and even kids, like saying, our firm can help you with your tickets and everything. Just whatever he pretty much could do to build business, because that's how he thought. He thought about bringing business. Personal injury attorneys, you see their ads on billboards. They come up when people do searches online for different things. They pay like $300 a click on Google. So if you go and you search for mesothelioma attorneys right now, and you click on a sponsored ad, that's costing them like $300, $400. It's incredible. But the whole game of a personal injury attorney is just to get work. That's it. Getting the work and getting the clients is 90% of the work. The rest of it is just kind of like whatever. So that's why they advertise on billboards, and that's why they spend all this money, and that's why you see them on buses, is because the whole game is bringing in business. And that's really a lot of the game for you as well. It's like just bringing in business. And so, law firms are interested in, when they look at your book of business, they think like a private equity company. They want someone who's increasing their book of business. So, 1 year you do 700,000, next year you do 1 million, next year you like 1.2 million, the next year you do 1.8 million. Like, that's good. Like, that's a good investment for a firm, because your business is consistently increasing, and that should be happening at your firm. You should be getting larger and larger clients as you go along. So Quinn Emanuel, the first firm I started out, that when John Quinn and Emanuel, whoever, and Urquhart started this firm, they were new. They didn't have any business, and so John Quinn would cold call companies saying, "Hey, I will do your employment defense work, and I'll do it at a low cost or whatever." And got all these firms to give him employment defense work, and then so he started doing that, and then he said, "Hey, can I do some? Can you give me a try doing some of your more sophisticated litigation, like commercial litigation?" So they started giving him a case here and there, and then eventually the firm got to be, started growing because they had all this employment work coming in, and then they were getting a lot of this commercial litigation. They were getting more and more commercial litigation. Eventually, they just said, "Hey, we don't want to do employment defense anymore because they were making so much money in commercial litigation." But they chose a practice here where they could bring business, and then after doing that, they continued, they grew. So because they wanted clients that were paying larger and larger, higher and higher billing rates. So large law firms need attorneys with business, and that's just how it works. If you have business, you will get hired. They need, if you bring in $5 million or $3 million in business and they pay you $1 million, that other 200,000 is going to support their administrative staff, their offices, their whatever, profits for partners that have more power than you. But that's what they need. So your goal, your guidepost needs to be always trying to develop a lot of business, and start out with small clients, move to larger and larger ones, because that's going to determine the course of your legal career. So, I'm almost done with these things. I know this has been a long webinar, but it could be, if you've listened and taken notes, some of the most important career advice you ever hear. But large law firms want to hire people with good reputation. So, people that have good reputations are typically well known to the media. They get interviews and Law 360 or whatever, and all these different things. They will give lots of different talks and things. They'll go out and talk to people. That's what CEOs of companies do. They go out and give all the talks they can. Many times they'll write treatises, on their practice area. They'll write articles and things for their firm website, or send them to publications, and they'll get a reputation legal committee. So, if you go look at a law firm website, some law firms, you'll see partners, and there are just a couple things that they've listed, and other websites, you'll see these long lists of treatises and talks, and maybe they'll do podcasts, all these things. Someone will develop a really good reputation, and those are the people that get business. Why would you stand there like a deer in the headlights, like not doing this? You need to get out there. I remember one time I had this weird real estate dispute, and I was looking for someone that could help me with it. And I was searching all these things on Google, and finally I found someone that had just written an article that was about my real estate dispute. And so I contacted this attorney and met with them, and I never would have found them had they not written this one article that was about handling a case similar to my real estate dispute. You need to, build up yourself and be seen for what you're doing. I mean, that's what I'm doing, and you need to do it. You can develop a reputation over years. You have to be honest. You have to be nice to people. You can't piss off former employers. You can't piss off clients. You need to develop a good reputation, and that stuff happens over time. You want, when people hear your name, to think this person really works hard, does a good job. You want to develop that reputation, and the only way of doing that is to make sure that you're treating everyone you work with fairly, that you're being honest, that you're continually putting content out there and doing things that are going to help you. And you need to impress everyone you come in contact with. If you're fighting with the other side about something, you need to impress the other side. If you're, everything you're doing, you need to make sure that you're coming across as, someone that's a good attorney with everyone, your peers in your law firm, your people that you're working with, your clients, and if you do that over time, large law firms are going to know who you are. And I've seen so many people do this. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, so many people have been able to develop top reputations and move to larger and larger law firms when you would think that was impossible. And this is what happens when you're motivated. This is what happens, when you do, when you do, work, you develop a reputation. Think about everything you possibly do has something to do with your reputation. If you are competitive and your ego and you piss people off and you do it in the wrong way, you're going to develop a bad reputation. And your reputation in the legal community for what you do will rise or fall depending on how well you do this stuff. The next thing is how willing you are to continue to look for better jobs. So lots of attorneys who end up in the largest law firms, they only do so by, as I told you earlier, continually looking for better and better jobs. You should be on Law Crossing, which shows you jobs that aren't advertised on Indeed and LinkedIn. You should be on Indeed and LinkedIn looking for jobs. You should be talking to attorneys and other firms to learn about where they're applying and where there's jobs. You should be doing, looking geographically if you're in a niche practice area, like different cities and things to look for jobs. You should always, by the way, be looking for jobs. You should never, unless you're finally like at the place you want to be, you should always have your eye on the market and know what's possible. You should always make sure that you're out there and watching the market. I mean, you need to be do whatever you can to be looking for jobs. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing disloyal about trying to improve yourself or go to a better firm. There's nothing wrong with you looking for a job. Now, I'm not saying you have to move all the time. You should not be moving 3 times in 3 years or 3 times in even 5 years. You need to continually make strategic career moves and know what's out there. I like Law Crossing because I started it because it shows you jobs that are not on that are just on law firm websites or whatever or different publications that you'd have to look at tons of them to find jobs. I mean, that's a great site, and so is Indeed, and so is LinkedIn. But Law Crossing is cool because those jobs are typically not publicized, meaning they're not on Indeed, LinkedIn, or whatever. And so, under firms that aren't advertising their jobs, that are just on their website, is a good source of looking at places. Just as Indeed and LinkedIn are awesome, but typically, when you try to find jobs like on Law Crossing that aren't widely advertised, and I'm making a pitch for it. This is not the point of this webinar is to promote Am Goods, but that's something that you should always be doing, and you should never feel bad about applying to 100 jobs and getting rejected from 100 of them. If just one works out, what the hell? That's freaking awesome. So you need to always be applying for jobs that are better. I mean, if you're in a situation where it's not going to look too bad for you to move, always need to be applying for jobs. You can never stop applying for jobs. And this is what winners do. Losers just sit there and think, oh, I'm going to watch what happens to me. I'm going to do this. But you need to be a winner, and you never need to stop looking for jobs. I've seen so many miracles happen when people keep looking for jobs. I've seen miracles happen when people on BCG, by the way, like our candidates, like what we do is they come in and we'll send them like, a bunch of jobs. Most people will be like, oh, I'm not going to apply to those, more than 50%, or they'll pick 1 or 2 jobs to apply to. And then if they don't get those jobs, maybe they'll give up or whatever. That's absolutely insane. You need to be continually looking for jobs. You cannot stop. You need to make that your #1 priority. And you need to apply to a lot of places. I mean, think about it this way. If you apply, and again, I'm using these numbers because these numbers work. If you're unemployed or trying to get a better job and you apply to 500 firms, well, maybe just 1 or 2 of those will have something that they need right away. Maybe they don't have an opening and they're much better firms. You suddenly can get a job. Whereas if you just sat on the sidelines, you won't. So you need to be applying lots and lots of places, and you can't worry about rejection. Most attorneys, if you apply to 50 firms, will get rejected by the majority of them. It doesn't matter what your background is. I mean, how good it is. I mean, you can't worry about rejection. You need to be doing a full-time job search. You need to be watching the market. Think about it this way: like someone who's an investor, like a professional investor, like they're watching for opportunities and things all day long to improve their portfolio. They're reviewing, whatever they can. They're reading about company, I mean, they're always looking to invest in different things or divest themselves for stuff. And that's what you should be doing as an attorney. You need to always be, you know, looking at the market because you're good, you're a product. You need to see where can I sell my product the most. And so, you know, your spirit and willingness to not give up in your job search when you get all this rejection is what matters. I mean, people do all the time, like they come to BCG and they were like, oh, okay, you know, here's 100 firms you should apply to, and they say, okay, no problem, and they apply to 100 firms, and then suddenly, like, they don't know how it happened, but because they were so aggressive in their job search, they end up at a much better firm. Whereas if they just sat on the sidelines, they wouldn't. So, you know, if people are engaged in their job search that I work with, most of them will get interviews and jobs if they just stay engaged. But most people do not stay engaged. They take rejection personally. You should not take rejection personally, by the way. All rejection means, or non-responsiveness, is that the law firm doesn't have a need, or you're not a good fit, or whatever. You know, but you can't control if you apply to, and again, I'm using these numbers because they work. If you apply to 100 law firms, 98 of them without openings, if you just find one that may have a need at one point in time, even if they never have a job, you're going to succeed. So you never give up. So, you know, moving to a major law firm, you know, doesn't matter where you went to law school, doesn't matter the firm you're at. I've given you all the ingredients to do so. You know, your age can be a factor, but you have a long career directory. I mean, if you're 40, I mean, you have, you know, 40 years to, I mean, continually improve. But I mean, you shouldn't give up. I mean, you never want to be, you know, one place, and it's just nonsensical to believe you can't do this. You need to make the right moves and position yourself correctly, and you need to be driven, and that's important. You may think that you're not intelligent, that you're not, you don't have the skills. Well, over time, if you commit to something, you will become very, very good at it. And all it takes, if you have been able to pass the bar, you can get in. You can succeed in a large law firm. Of course, you can. Anybody can. It doesn't matter. You can see in the practice of law. So, you know, a lot of what I've said today is just about motivational related stuff, but I've given you the ingredients to get into a large law firm. I hope you follow them. I hope you let me know further down in your career, you know, how that's gone for you. And I can't commend everyone enough for spending the time. This has been a long webinar, but the information was important. But I can't commend you enough for being on this webinar, for you know, for listening to this and to learning this, because again, you are in the top 99% of attorneys that, first of all, wouldn't have shown up for the webinar or wouldn't have taken the time to learn from the stuff today. Very, very powerful information. Very, very powerful changes you can make in your career and life. And I really hope that you take what I've talked about today and transform your life and your career, because that's exactly where you should be. You should be, this is transformative, and you should take what you've learned. I hope you wrote stuff down and change the direction of your career and life, because anybody can do it. I've seen countless examples of people doing this. So I'll take a quick break just for a few minutes. Again, this is so people that are on the call can, you know, kind of, you know, take a break or whatever, get a drink or something. So I'll take a quick break for just a couple of minutes, and then when I come back, I will take questions. It looks like there's a lot of questions so far, which is great. Because this is the live webinar, I'm going to go through every single one of your freaking questions. So if you ask more questions now, that I will get to them. And it looks like someone raised their hand. And if you put your question in the question mark, the person raised their hand, I saw a couple of people during the webinar, then I will answer those questions that you have. And you know, and again, you know, thank you for spending all the time listening. Just amazing. We started off this webinar with almost 1,000 people, and almost, you know, all of them are still on this webinar. So, you know, I think that that's a good sign that people were like listening. So I will again take a quick break, ask all the questions you have. I will come back and answer them, and thank you again for spending the time so far. We've got a minute. Oh. All right, so just give me 1 second here and we'll get started with the question. And I'm happy to see that more people ask more questions on the break too, so that's great. Give me 1 quick second here. Pulling up a Word document. If I can look at questions. Okay, we're gonna share. Wow, and it's good to see that even after this short break, for almost everyone, perception of one or two people is still here. So I think we're going to have some very good questions today. Second. Okay, here we go. Questions and answers. Yeah, and for me, the funnest part of these webinars is actually the questions. I like the questions because I feel that it really helps people the most because I think everyone has individual questions and your questions are very, very valuable to other people that are watching the webinar. A lot of times people are afraid to ask questions. And I think that this is really the most important part of the webinar because you listen, but then watching all this stuff I think is even more helpful. So I'm going to kind of do these randomly. I know a lot of times people ask questions first and last and so forth, but I will get to all the questions right now. So let's get here. Let's get going. Because the first question is, what can attorneys from lower ranked law schools use to effectively differentiate themselves when competing against candidates for top law schools for positions at major firms? I've applied to several large law firms who feel that my resumes and getting noticed. Are there specific ways to highlight my skills and experience due to the perceived disadvantage of my background? Okay, so this is a great question. Unfortunately, unless you were at the very, very top of your class at a lower ranked law school, your odds of getting into a major law firm right out of law school are very, very slim. So it's in fact almost impossible. It's not because there's anything wrong with you; it's because of the people you're competing with. So when you get out of when you're in law school or you just graduated, you're competing against people that went to better law schools for the same jobs. So, why would a law firm necessarily be interested in you when you haven't come from, may not succeed, fell down. It's really hard because they're weighted. Anyway, why would a law firm hire you when there are people from better law schools that they can hire from? So it's the law of supply and demand. So the law of supply and demand is something that you need to think about for your entire career. So, when you're in law school or freshly out, you're competing against people that went to better law school. So why would a law firm hire you? The only thing they have to compare applicants to is the quality of law school they went to or the firm that they're at. So a firm is obviously for a job, is going to prefer someone that went to a higher ranked law school that's also in a better firm. They're not going to hire you. They have no incentive to do so. Why would they hire someone from a lower ranked law school when you're fresh out of law school when they can hire someone from a better law school? But what does that mean? So what it means is you develop all the things I talked about today. You develop an expertise. So let's say you do year one, you're doing real estate transactional law. I just gave this example earlier, real estate transactional law at a small firm. Transactional law at a small firm. So if you're doing that kind of work, and year one, there's going to be maybe, year one, 50 other people like you, 50 others in your market. Like you. And then in, sorry, it's a year. But in year 8, the law firm has a job. There might only be, 10 people still practicing. People like you. And then out of those, only and maybe let's say 10 looking for jobs or 10 looking for jobs. And then in year 10, there's only 10 people like you that are 8th year attorneys. And there might only be, if you take the same ratio of, whatever, there might only be 2 looking for jobs. So, again, like if time is on your side, so if you develop an expertise and the longer you're doing it, time is on your side because there's going to be less competition. The reason there's only 10 people left is because those attorneys from large law firms got sick of it and went in-house, or they quit the practice of law or whatever, or they don't want to work in a large law firm ever again. So in year 10 and year 8, there's only 10 people like you. So what you need to do is you need to develop an expertise and realize that over time, things are going to go very, very well for you. And then let's talk about year 15. There might only be, maybe 20 people in the entire market, with, I don't know, with 3 million in business. And out of those, maybe only, 1 to 2 are looking for jobs at any point in time. So that's how it works. So you have to understand that when you develop an expertise and when you develop business, everything is working for you. Like there's going to be less competition over time. So you cannot possibly think that a law firm, if you're a young attorney that didn't go to a good law school, and you're working at a bad law firm or not a great law firm, you can't possibly think that you're going to get hired by a big law firm. You're only going to get hired by a big law firm if and when you develop an expertise, and that expertise, is very, very, is a very, very good expertise over time, and there's going to be fewer people like you. So you just have to think about, what am I doing over time to make myself more marketable if I didn't go to a great law school? There's nothing, it's not your fault. It's just, you did what you did, and that's that. But you need to be resilient. You need to realize that the longer you're in the market, the more expertise you have, the fewer people that are going to be like you, and the more market you're going to be. That's how it always works. I mean, or you do what I said earlier. You develop some weird niche expertise that no one's doing, and then you get into a large law firm. You can always get into a large law firm, but it's all about the law of supply and demand. Because when you're one, they evaluate you based on law schools and firms, right? Based on law schools and firms. Firms. So that's how they're evaluating you. But in year 8, it's your expertise. They don't care about your law school anymore. I mean, they might, some firms will. And then in year 15, it's business. So, expertise and business, that's all you need to think of. And then you also need to think of, the fact that time is on your side. And that's what is going to benefit. Okay, this next question. Great questions, by the way, and thank you everyone who's asking them. These are awesome because they really work to highlight everything we've talked about today. Okay, and situations where I've been rejected by several large law firms, how should I approach reapplying to these firms in the future? Should I continue gaining experience in smaller firms and reapply after a few years, or are there ways to remain on their radar in the meantime? How can I strategically plan my career directory to make a successful move to a major firm later on? Okay, so large law firms are very organized. So when I say organized, it means they have very good HR departments. Those HR departments know how to hire people. Like when they have firms have openings, they have openings. So they're not necessarily going to hire you in response to just applying there. They're typically going to hire you when they have openings. So if you apply to a large law firm, many times they will enter your resume into an applicant tracking system. They may call you in the future, probably not. Reapplying shows your interest. Many times they will track that. But just applying to large law firms, even if you're rejected, you shouldn't worry about it. I mean, you're going to get rejected just based on the law of supply and demand. So just think about it, this way. So big law firm opening, not I don't care what city it's for opening
they get, let's say they get, 100 applications for a job, might be more. Out of those, maybe, 5 or 10 big law firm, school, maybe 10. I'm just saying early in your career, 10 from big school, big medium firm, top school. I mean, and then maybe the rest, smaller firm. Just give you an example. Okay, okay, law school. So just put yourself in the situation of the firm. Like, what would you do? I mean, you would hire someone you would try to choose from the big law firm top school, and then you would interview those people, and not like some of them, and maybe you would choose 5 of those to interview. That's just how it works. So why would a law firm, if you're in this bottom half, which I guess would be 80, why would a law firm hire you? I mean, they're not going to. They have no incentive to. I mean, they're getting better applications. So, the only way to get around that is what I talked about earlier. It's to develop an expertise and to make sure that time is on your side. So this would be junior, and then as you get more senior, then say 5 years out, maybe it's 2 applications from big firm, and then I don't know, and then you get the same thing. Maybe you get 10 from medium. I don't know, whatever, and then 80, 50 at the red. There's not going to be any applications because 5 years out, there's not going to be as many people. So maybe stay there 5, and then 10 smaller. I'm just giving you an example. So but if the idea would be that if they're only getting 2 applications from people at top firms, then they're going to have to go and go to this tranche, which would be the medium firms, because they're losing. Anytime a firm has openings, by the way, they want to hire you. They're losing money, and if those don't work out, 10 of smaller firms. But your goal would be to be in this kind of area 5 years out, because if you're in a medium-sized firm 5 years out, and these applications maybe all no after interview, they're going to start looking for the people in the medium firms, and then the people in the medium firms, ones who have moved up, very focused in practice area, are the ones that are likely to be hired. So what I'm telling you and everyone on this call is that the longer you're out, the more your expertise, and the fewer people they're going to be like you, and the better chance you are going to have of getting a position. It's just that simple. So you need to make sure that you put yourself on a trajectory where you're where you're an expert in your practice area, where you're not competing with a lot of people. And just so everyone understands, you are not going to get a job in a big law firm, regardless of how many times you apply, if you don't have an expertise in a certain thing. So let me just look at this. I know people are raising their hand. If you're raising your hand, you can go back and ask questions, and I'll answer them. But the whole point of getting a big firm is you just need to position yourself as the best person in that practice area to get hired. Law firms are not going to hire you if you if they have better applicants. I mean, why would they? You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do so either. So just imagine you're hiring I don't know, someone to paint your portrait, and you have an unlimited budget. So you have 10 people you can choose from. One of them is an art student. The other is a person that's painted 5 portraits, and the other one is someone that's done pictures, painted pictures of important executives, and then the other one is someone that's painted pictures of the Pope and the president. I mean, you're obviously going to choose the person that looks best on paper. I mean, you would do the same thing, and if you had an unlimited budget, which the larger law firms do. But you just have to realize you're not going to get hired at a big firm until you have some sort of expertise in business, or some sort of trajectory where you're continually moving to better and better firms. So I'm not trying to disappoint everyone. I'm just telling you it's time. Time is on your side. Let's see. Good. It seems to me that the main obstacle I must overcome is that I did not participate in OCI in the summer associateship. How do I overcome this? Or maybe I'm wrong in this assumption. Open to any and all suggestions. Okay, so anybody that, I mean, this is crazy too. So a lot of times people, depending on the size school and how good the, I mean, that size, the prestige level of the school, there are going to be more and more people coming to OCI. So if you go to a top 10 law school, there might be 200 firms who go to OCI. If you go to, a medium-sized law school or whatever, but not less ranked, there might be 50 firms, 30 firms. And the lower tier law school you go, there's not going to be as many firms coming to OCI. So what I don't understand, I don't get it. And I'll just share my screen here for another second to help you. You should, everyone who's on this call that's a law student, you definitely should be doing whatever you can to get a job in a law firm during your summer. It doesn't matter the size law firm, you need to get a job in a law firm. And it's just incredibly important because if you want to get a permanent job, it's a good idea to try to get a position in a law firm. And if you want to, I want to make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. I think I am here. If you want to, anybody that wants to get a job in a law firm can. So, what does that mean? So say you're in, I don't know, Memphis. So you want to work as you want to get a summer job in Memphis for a law firm. Now, you do not need to be paid. But you need to get a job. You need to do something. I don't know, it's crazy searches you can say that I've done, but say, corporate law firm, lawyers and law firms in Memphis, whatever. So do the search. You're going to see all of these attorneys that are, you can call. You could call the Culpepper Law Firm. You could send her an email with her resume saying, "I'd love to work with you in the summer." You could do the same thing with this guy. All of these are people that have sponsored listings that are paying, but that has nothing to do with a number of attorneys that do corporate law. You can see here, BCG has the best corporate law firms in Memphis ranked. This law firm is sponsoring something. And actually, this is kind of funny. You can see these are all sponsored, but BCG is not sponsored either. Super Lawyers. And then you kind of go down and you see all of these law firms in Memphis that do corporate related work. And I don't know why this is working, but usually you'll see, here we go. You'll see all of these different law firms in Memphis that do corporate related work. So, these are all individual lawyers in places. And, this is not one of list. I mean, look at this, showing one of 20 of many. So you just keep going and you go, down here. Now, not all of these are slip and fall, criminal defense and stuff, but you find all of the attorneys in Memphis that do corporate law, and you apply to them and you say, "Hey, can I work for the summer? Can I work for free? Whatever." And by the way, a lot of people don't understand this. People are, in their first 5 years of practice are often like, "Hey, I want to make as much money as possible." No, your job as a summer associate or working in a law firm, even if you do it for free in the summer, your job is to get trained in something. Law firms do not train you, or law school does not train you to be a corporate attorney or whatever it is you want to do. Law school trains you to take the bar and to understand some subjects, and that's about it. So, and there's just things that everyone needs to understand. But that's basically what your job is. So your job in your first 5 years of practice is not to make money. Your job is to get trained in some sort of specialty, because it takes about 5 years to learn any practice area. And so once you learn that practice area, that's all you need. I mean, that's the most important thing is to make sure you get as much experience as you can to get trained in something. Don't worry about the money. I mean, I know the money is important, but really the most important thing in your first 5 years is to get experience. You're learning on the job. You're getting things that other people don't have, and I mean, you're getting trained in a specialty. Even if you don't have to get paid a lot of money, you're getting trained, and that training in your first 5 years. Say you get trained at the age of 25 to 30. Well, that training is going to stick with you for the next 50 years. But if you're just jumping around to make more money, then that's not strategic. You need to be strategic. Okay, so next question is, I work full-time 50+ hours a week in addition to familiar obligations outside of work. Are there any unconventional or backdoor avenues which would allow me to pursue a law degree that doesn't require the immense allocation of time up front? Yes, I mean, you can, in California, you can work for an attorney for several years and then actually take the bar. I don't know how that works, but you know, you have to get a law degree. You have to put in the time. There are definitely online law schools and that sort of thing. Most people that go to those never pass the bar. You're also not around other people that are going to help you kind of rise to the level. So no, you need to you need to go to law school if you want to be an attorney. You know, if it means something to you and you really want to be an attorney and there's all sorts of reasons, then you'll find a way to do it. Sorry if it's not the best question for you, answer that you'd like to hear, but okay, here we go. Okay, so the next question is, what role do advanced certifications or LLM degrees play in making a candidate more competitive for a major law firm position? If they didn't attend a top law school, would pursuing additional qualifications significantly improve my chances, or should I focus more on gaining practical experience and networking with my practice here? Okay, so you know, again, I'm gonna piss off a lot of law schools, but for the most part, an LLM isn't going to do anybody's career much good, with some exceptions. There are a lot of LLMs out there. You can go get an LLM in intellectual property law. You think that's going to help you get a job in intellectual property. In most cases, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. You know, anyway, but because you have to be like an engineer and stuff usually to go into the IP law. But if you go to get an LLM, there's certain LLMs that can really help you. There's LLMs in tax. So if you're going to be a tax attorney, you can go to NYU or whatever, and those are good programs if you want to do tax, and you can get into big law firms doing that. You can get out, get your LLM off and get a job in an accounting firm or something and have a decent chance, not great, but a decent chance of moving to a law firm. You can get an LLM in healthcare law if you have that background, and that will help you. You know, get a job in a firm doing healthcare, and that's a good practice area. You can often move to larger law firms. You can get an LLM and employee benefits, and that will help you if you're doing that, you know, to move to a large law firm. But in the most cases, you know, and sometimes, you know, you could get an LLM from, you know, Harvard or something, and you know, that could help you if it's a major school like that. Usually not, but it can help you. So, you know, the LLM has to be focused in a practice area. You know, people go to bad law, not top law schools all the time, get an LLM in tax and get jobs. That's a very good LLM to get. People do the same thing, you know, with some of these other ones, but sometimes there's actually an LLM program in education, you know, that can help for education law. That's not, you know, not a big firm practice area, but, you know, you can get LLMs and they can help you. Most of the time, you know, if you were to get an LLM in tax, you would have some sort of interest in tax and background in the past. If you get an LLM healthcare law and you were in the healthcare industry before going to law school, that can help you. Employee benefits if you're doing that. Some of these other things like education law and stuff can help you as well. But for the most part, you know, LLM degree is not going to help you. You know, I don't like saying this because I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call that are international students, but you know, if you're an international student, you get your LLM and you try to job at a small law firm. That's all there is to it. You can try to get a job at a big law firm, but you need to be very exhaustive in your search looking at smaller law firms. If you get an LLM, in most cases, though, it's not a good use of your money. It's not going to benefit you to the degree you would want it to, you know, but it does give you many times a very good school on your resume, but it's not necessarily going to help you. If you look at the resumes and you go to big law firms and you look at all the resumes of attorneys from big law firms on their website, I mean, what you will see is the majority of them, 99% of them do not have LLMs. So an LLM, it doesn't help you. If you're an international student getting an LLM, you should get that LLM, and then you should try to enroll in a law school or JD. LLMs are money machines for law schools. They are really there to they make money. It doesn't cost them a lot to have LLM sitting courses and stuff. It's just kind of a money machine for them, and most of the time, it's not a good use of your money. But you can get a better school on your resume, and that can help to some extent, but usually not. Okay. Let me just hear. So there's a big question here I'm going to answer for this person. And I will get to all the questions today, by the way. We'll stay as long as we need to. This one done. So I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I love these long questions, and I'm excited this person asked this. Okay, I went to Georgetown Law, JD 2023. That's awesome. I did not participate in OCI, and therefore did not do a summer associateship. That's should have done that. It's okay. It seems that it's summer associates only have one of the big law. Okay, that's definitely true. So it's just what it is. So you have to any attorney or law student on this call, you have to get a summer job in a law firm. It doesn't matter how big the law firm is. It doesn't. You have to do something to show that you want to work in a law firm, because if after your summer, your second year, you're doing something like a clinic at your law school or whatever, working for a professor, that doesn't show that you're interested in working in a law firm. If you want to work in a law firm, you will get a job. You need to get a job in a law firm during your summer. You need to do whatever you possibly can. You need to apply as many places as you possibly can, and you need to, do whatever you can to get a job as a summer associate. So I'm going to share again, and I'm going to show you. I do this on a lot of these calls. I show people, but I will real quickly. I'll go back to Google, and I will show you. Say you are in, planning on taking the Virginia bar after you graduate from Georgetown. So, or you want to get a job as a summer attorney, working in the summer in a law firm. Now, what I'm going to show you today is would blow your mind, because anybody, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're the bottom of your class, I have no concern who you are. Anyone can get a job in a law firm after law school. I mean, during law school, it's impossible not to if you follow my advice. So let's say you're taking the Virginia bar after you graduate. So cities in Virginia. So here's the list of cities and counties in Virginia. 95 counties, 38 cities, whatever, all these different things. So these are all the cities in Virginia. These are all counties. I don't know what the hell's going on here. These are all of the, all of the places that you possibly could work. These are all the cities. You have Alexandria with 155,000, Chesapeake with 250. I mean, look at all these different cities. It just blows my mind. So let's take a look here at Suffolk. I've never even heard of the city. Suffolk, Virginia. Okay. So list of litigation firms in Suffolk, Virginia. So here again, all of these, different firms. You start here, top litigation, or this business litigation attorneys, Baker Tilly, list of places on fine law, list of all these businesses. Let's see these that do it. Pages and pages and pages of places. So, what does that mean? Like when I say, whatever, when I say, getting a position in the summer, very, very easy. So here we are in Suffolk, Virginia, and this guy does some commercial litigation. We'll move. A lot of these people do different types of litigation. You have to go through all this and see that. My advice would be to try to work for a firm where you're doing commercial litigation, both that but whoever this guy is, Hook Law, you go to his website, and it looks like he says he does, what does he do? Practice areas, estate planning, retirement, guardianship, fiduciary litigation, dispute resolution. Great. So you could apply to this guy and say, hey, I want to work for you in the summer. And I'll work for free even. And that's just one city out of all of these cities. Like, come on, like look at the number of opportunities you have. I mean, everyone does. There's I don't know how many 100 cities here or whatever. Covington, Virginia. They're all in every single one of these cities. There are people that do that do litigation if you want to be commercial. Every single one of them. So why would you sit on the sidelines like and just watch this stuff go by you when there's so many opportunities out there? I mean, every single one of these cities in Virginia has people that would be doing the kind of work that you may want to do. If it's commercial litigation, it's commercial litigation. If it's corporate law, it's corporate law. There will be attorneys in every city that do. Here's Charlottesville. I know several. There's even large law firms in Charlottesville. There's, no one is doing this. No one is going out and saying, being smart. So your job as an attorney, this is for everyone on this call. Your job as an attorney is to represent yourself and get good results. So if you were this is what I do as my business. If you were my candidate, I would look at every single possible place I could that might hire you. I mean, I would be dumb and crazy not to. So I would look at every single place and every single city might help you. And this is what you need to do too with your career. You need to realize that, there's so many opportunities out there if you represent yourselves correctly. I mean, you could spend, and this is, by the way, service, BCG Premier. This is a service that we have at BCG. I'm not selling it. Well, actually, I'm selling, I guess. But it's called BCG Premier. Just look it up. Where we actually we will tell you about our exclusive jobs and everything for $3 a month, which is helpful. But we also have this service where we apply to firms on your behalf. We do like 25 per week. I mean, it's nothing. And then we have this other one, I guess, where we apply to 50 law firms per week. So, the idea with these services, and it's something you can do on your own, is that you go out and you find as many places as possible to apply to, and you do it for every market that you're interested in. This service just will apply to them for you, which is helpful, obviously. But you can do this yourself. And if you have the time to apply to 50 firms per week, which we would be doing the service. But the point is that anybody can get a job as a summer associate. Anybody can get a job as an attorney if you do your search aggressively enough in as many places as you can. And I don't like that people don't understand this. I don't like that people think, oh, I need to rely on my school's OCI program. Why would you do that? I mean, why would you, rely only on, and these are people here, look at all these people, litigation and appeals, litigation, all these different people that do this sort of work. And I can tell you right now that, who is this woman? Quinn Law Centers in Richmond, Virginia. I mean, this is probably a woman at a small law firm that does the kind of work you would want to do. Maybe I'm just giving this and here she is, family, personal injury, employment. I mean, I don't know that's the right practice area, but all I'm showing you is this woman. There's a couple of attorneys there. This woman right here was probably smart enough to send a resume to this firm. This woman on the site, but this woman is the owner of the firm. If you contact her and say, hey, I would like to work for you in the summer doing employment law or whatever. I'll work for free. You're going to get a firm on your resume. So, you just need to understand that there's so many freaking opportunities out there, whoever you are, that you can always get a job. I mean, it's impossible not to if you apply to enough places. I mean, but you need to do that. You can never sit on the sidelines and think that, that's going to work. You need to apply to as many places as possible. Okay, so this person says, I am 32, have 6.5 years of professional experience and pre-law school at law lobbying firms, very common for people in Washington, D.C., paralegal and project manager, the managing partner, founding partner. Great. Via LinkedIn, I've applied to 50 jobs. I've heard back from 0. Okay, of course. So if you apply to a job on LinkedIn, they're gonna hire people from good law schools like you went to, but that have a history of being interested in working in law firms. You apply to 50 jobs? No, no, no. I mean, you you should apply to hundreds. You should not just apply, this is for everyone on this call. You should not just apply to job openings. If you apply to job openings on LinkedIn, every single person that has a internet connection, that's an attorney, that wants to find a job is applying to the exact same jobs. And the firms are going to hire the people that are the best fit, which means people that are working in law firms currently, or have had jobs doing it, have got offers as summer associates, whatever. They're going to hire the best person. So if you're not the best person, who cares? If you apply, this is a piece of advice I've been giving my whole career. Very few people buy into it. 95% of the people don't buy into it. The 5% that buy into it always get jobs. If you apply to firms that don't have openings, you just send your resume to people saying you want to work for them at small firms, big firms. You will start hearing back from them because no one else is applying. So job on LinkedIn, 300 applications, right? Or no, I don't know, 100 applications. Email or resume to firm without open. Zero applications, right? So 0 applications. So if you're the one person that applies, your odds are dramatically better. I talk to firms. I mean, I'm now that I'm talking about Virginia. I've talked to firms before that are in small towns and things, and they demand to have a Zoom conference with me. And so I have a Zoom conference with them. They tell me about a job that they have and can I help them? And they're desperate for people and no one's applying. If you find small places, you can always get a job. I mean, everyone on this call, you can always find someone to hire you. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, in Virginia just now, I showed you there's probably 3,000 people, firms you could apply to. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you just rely on putting yourself into competition with people on LinkedIn? Now I'm going to promote another Harrison Barnes service. It's not a perfect service. I'm not, law crossing, but it has jobs from employer websites, not on LinkedIn. So what does that mean? That means that, you post a job on there, you go to a job down there, maybe that job gets because it's people have to pay, or you get a free 3-month subscription or whatever. You pay $25 a month, which is ridiculous how cheap it is for what you're getting. But maybe those jobs from employer websites get 5 applications or 10 applications. So because they're not widely distributed. So just think like a business. So if you apply to places that aren't widely distributed, your odds of getting a position are like 10 times better. I mean, why would you not want to apply to jobs that, and you can do this yourself. I mean, you go to each of these websites and look up, and look at their employment pages. If you have the time, you can do that. But works much, much better. If you send a firm without openings, it gets openings that's tremendously valuable. If you, on LawCross, if you apply to firms that aren't widely distributed, because anytime you're applying to a job on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, I mean, you can rest assured that those firms are getting an incredible number of applications for those jobs. Now, they're not always going to get that in smaller cities. So you should, if you find jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed or in LawCross that are in smaller markets, people aren't applying to those. So you should be applying to those. But that's, what you should be doing. Everyone that relies on their law school to get a job, now law school career services offices are fantastic, but they can't be expected to help you apply to the hundreds of possible places that you can. And they don't, they're law schools. They understand how to teach law, and their career services offices understand how to get you a job. But you need to do a lot of this yourself. You need to represent yourself and go out there and find positions. You're your own attorney. So I'm an attorney. So if I'm representing you, I'm going to do whatever I possibly can to get you a job. And so that's what a good attorney does. Now, I'm not perfect at it, but that's what I do. I try to get everyone a job that I can. So, being employed at a federal legislation clinic as a postgraduate law fellow is not a law firm job. Like, why would you do something? Again, I'm not trying to be rude here, but why would you do something that's not a law firm job? You're doing something that's like sort of, I don't know, academic or clinical. That's not going to get you into a law firm. I have law professors from big law schools all the time that apply in BCG for jobs. They won't, no one's going to hire them. They're not working in a law firm environment. So, even if you're a professor, like, I mean, a professor at Stanford or something, I mean, I don't know that I've helped anybody from Stanford, but, Michigan or Georgetown or whatever, and you want to get a job in a law firm, no one's going to hire you, even if you went to, like, Harvard Law School or Harvard Law Review and, top of your class, they're not going to hire you because you're not coming from that from that practice setting. So everybody on this call, I just want to emphasize to you, I can't tell you enough. You need to you need to you need to get yourself into a law firm, and there's so many opportunities to get into law firms. I mean, it's not anything that I mean, you need to get into a law firm. So someone asked me for the name of the book. So here's the name of some books. Think and Grow Rich. That's a very good book. Everyone should read it. You should read it each year. And I'm not practicing what I preach because I should do it more often. But you should, read it. You should read, I don't know. Unlimited Power is a pretty good one. That's an old book, but Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. Robbins. You should read, and these are books that help me. But I mean, this was a long time ago. But you should read motivational books. You should watch, motivational videos. You should do whatever you can to put yourself in a position where you're, where you're staying motivated. You need to be motivated. Being on this webinar, by the way, is motivation. Like, spending your time on stuff like this, you just based on what everyone's learned today, this person, how to get a job, everyone here, how to, should you do an LLM, save you a year of your life, focusing in a practice area, like all these things that each individual one of these things could change your career. But this thing, motivation is the first thing I talked about today in the presentation. Anything you do that's going to motivate you is hugely important. Something that you need to constantly do. You need to constantly stay motivated. And all these people that aren't working in law firms, you need to get into a law firm. You need to. There's so many freaking places you could work. If you're in California, I mean, the number is like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. I mean, the bar has numbers for when people are admitted in California. And, it's like 400,000, we have bar numbers. People have bar numbers, and those are, they have, I mean, it's crazy. So you need to do, whatever you can to work in a law firm or with someone else. This person says, I did a judicial, the same person. And I'm just, I hope everyone can see this, because we're talking now to someone, I don't know what Georgetown is, if it's top 10, top 20 law school, but it's an extremely well-respected law school. So here's someone that went to one of the best law schools in the country. And for whatever reason, because of, not attending webinars like this or making these decisions, and weren't taken to his law firms, are in this position. So I did a judicial clerk's externship at the U.S. District Court. That's great. That shows you're interested in, maybe did that your first year, and was on Law Journal as well as a clinic. So Law Journal, clinics, that stuff's fine, but everyone, you need to get out there and apply to as many places as you possibly can with everything you got. Like that's the game. You need to be applying to as many places, and you need to work in a law firm. I don't care how much money you make. I mean, I've said this, several times. If you don't make a lot of money, you can defer your student loans. Probably, I don't know how long you can do it for. But you need to work in a law firm. And of course, you're discouraged. Why would you expect to apply to 50 jobs and get one of them. When each job, there might be 100 applications, 50, or 80 that are better than yours. Just don't get discouraged. You need to apply to places without openings. And I hope this advice helps everyone here, because people aren't doing this. People are getting, very, are getting very discouraged because they're not being persistent. So let me just show you real quickly. Persistence. So there's a famous story story medium here. Well, there's a famous story in Think and Grow Rich, and what that story, there's a lot of stories about persistence, but one of the stories about persistence is just, I don't know, there's a lot of story, but you can't succeed at anything unless you're being persistent. It's absolutely impossible. So there's great stories about persistence and Think and Grow Rich. There's great stories about that's one of the best stories. But persistence, there's nothing wins like persistence, and you can't expect to get good results if you're only applying to 50. When you're applying to jobs, you're competing with other people that work in law firms. If you're applying, when you apply to firms that don't have openings, you find jobs on Law Crossing, you're drastically increasing your odds of success. And you need to keep applying to places. Now, I showed you earlier, what was this thing called? Sorry, give me a second. One second, I'm sorry, I'm just looking for stuff here. Oh, I showed you earlier, and again, I apologize for promoting BCG services on this, because the point of this webinar is not for me to try to make money off anyone here, but I'm trying to, it's educational. But what I want you to see here is, like this particular service applies to 25 per week. This service applies to 50 per week. So this is what you need to do. Like, you don't have to use a service, but you need to apply to a lot of places. So if you apply to 50 firms each week, and with jobs or not jobs, whatever, that's 2,400 a year. Everyone should be pumping out applications, whether on your own. This does it for you on autopilot, but using something like this or doing it yourself is what you need to do. Someone that applies to 50 jobs, over a couple months is never going to move the needle for you. I mean, you need to do something, you need to do something different. And let me just figure out this document here. And you need to be applying to a lot of places. That's what I do for my candidates. Every one of my candidates, by the way, that kind of buys into. Hello? 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 Okay, sorry, I was testing my microphone. My microphone looks like it went out. But I'm just saying, everyone that applies to a lot of firms is always going to get jobs. So this another question about Think and Grow Rich is original 1937 edition. I think that 37 edition is just fine. I don't, I haven't read a lot of different versions of it, but it is important. Okay, a lot of questions here, and I'm going to get to everyone's question. I'm doing this one's, well, I guess an hour and a half into the webinar. And again, the more questions people have, the more I'll answer them all. So, if for attorneys currently working at a mid-sized regional firm, is there a specific point in their career when it is optimal to try to transition to a major firm? Should I aim at a certain level of experience, or wait until I have a substantial book of business to make a jump, or earlier for securing a better role at a top firm? Okay, so this is a good question. This is another one that will help tons of people when to answer it. So here's how it works with marketability. So marketability, when you get out of law school, so that's great. You got a job at a mid-sized regional firm.
that means that you should be able to move to a larger firm at a different, later in your career. But your marketability is as follows. So, 1 year, not too much. Sorry, 1 year, not much. 2 more, 3, lot more. Or, good time to move. And then, when you get up to, 5, 6, best time to move. So, I mean, I would say 3 to 5, 6. Best time to move. So, attorneys from mid-sized good firms should be thinking about moving when you're 3 to 5 or 6 years out. That's kind of the sweet spot. The reason that it's smart to move, when you have between 3 and 5, 6 years of experience is because you know what you're doing. The partners in the law firm and others don't need to spend a lot of time teaching you things. They don't need to write off your time. The firm, if it's a larger firm, can keep you working there for the next 3 or 4 years, or 5 or 6 if you're a third year, without having to worry about making you partner. When you're at 5 to 6 years, you're very efficient. So you can do most of the work. You can write motions if whatever. You can do most of the stuff that they need done. You're very efficient. So clients like it because you're getting a lot of work done at a lower cost. But as you get more senior, when you start getting into, 7+ years, then, billing rate gets higher. All sorts of things happen. Higher, want to be partner. So, partner, whatever. Higher billing rate means that clients prefer to have the partner do it at a high rate than you because it's a partner. So, and then partners in law firms typically are paid different percentages. So they might be paid, I'm just hypothetically 40, just different firms, 40% of the work that they do themselves might come to them, and then 15% for the work that they give others. So they would prefer to give that work to more junior people, 3, 5, or 6 that are efficient. I mean, there's a lot, I could talk about related to that, but that's, kind of how it works. So if I was at a medium firm, I would consider, when I got to like 2.5 years, I would start watching for jobs in the market, and then if they're in your practice area at bigger firms, start applying to them. The nice thing about the 5 to 6 range, or 4 to 5, is that there's going to be fewer attorneys in your practice area and location that do what you do. And also, this is another important point. If you started a mid-sized law firm and you stay there for 4 years, that's good, because that means you have employment stability, that you're likely to, that employment stability means that, the law firm believes that when you go to your next firm, you'll stay. It also is nice because it makes like you're looking up, moving up. So if you're competing with associates at other AmLaw 100 law firm is just switching to another AmLaw 100 law firm, and then you're really trying to move up, that's a better story than someone that's not trying to do that. So, very good question. So here we go. So what advice would you give to attorneys who are in-house or non-law firm roles looking to move back into a major law firm practice? How can they best position their non-law firm experience as an asset rather than liability in applications top firms? Okay, so if you are in-house, you are competing, you're trying to get into a big law firm, you're competing with attorneys that are in you're competing against attorneys that are from other, that are from large law firms. So why would they hire someone that's in-house as opposed to someone in a large law firm? There's no, no incentive for them to do so. The other problem with working in-house, and there's a lot of problems,
But one of the other problems of working in-house is that law firms, the quality of work you're doing, it could be all over the map. Like, they know if you're coming from a big law firm, that you're probably working on behalf of large clients, the quality of work that's expected, the type of other attorneys you're working with. So you're always going to be much better off if you're working in if you're coming from a law firm as opposed to in-house, because they know the type of work that you're doing. So how do you get back to a law firm if you're working in-house? Well, you have to go someplace where there's not a lot of competition. So typically that'll mean things like going to smaller markets or smaller firms where there's not a lot of competition, or smaller markets where there's not a lot of competition. So that's what in-house attorneys, when they get jobs, do all the time. Sometimes you can network into working to go into a law firm that currently that currently hires, that you're referring work to, but that's very rare. I told the story before, but I had an interesting happen to me. I had an attorney that was in-house with General Motors for several years, very high up, and was referring all his work to the biggest law firms in Detroit, Dickinson Wright, Degman Gossett, Honda Miller, Butts Along, all these big firms he's referring work to. And he lost his job because something went over his desk about defective seatbelts or something that he didn't address, but it wasn't really, I don't know, he didn't respond hard enough. So he lost the job. And I thought, wow, this guy's been referring, tens of millions of dollars of business to these law firms over the years. Wouldn't they be interested in him? And I was just very enthusiastic. It was years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And there was just crickets, like no one would respond. No one. So it's very difficult when you're in-house to get into law firms. It's just because your experience isn't going to be valued because they have nothing to compare it to. And also you've made a choice to go into a different practice setting. Law firm attorneys choose, and have always chosen, as they get more senior, they've chosen to work in the law firm practice setting. The other thing about in-house, I could go on and on about this, but I just want everyone to understand it's very important, even attorneys for big firms to understand. The other thing from in-house is that, your job as an in-house attorney often is to refer work out and not to do it yourself. So, so people that are referring work out, it's a much different position than someone that's actually doing the work. Just give me 1 second. I've got a problem with a bird, which I'll show you in a second. I own this bird, if you can see her right there, that will not shut up. And so I had to actually bring her into my office. So that's kind of my advice for in-house counsel is, you need to, in order to move into a law firm, you typically will need to start out at a smaller law firm and then move to a larger law firm. And that's, kind of how it works. It's difficult to transition to a top tier law firm because you're competing against people that are from law firms. So, what would you do if you're a law firm? You would hire someone whose experience you understood. Okay, let me see here. Hope everyone was entertained by that bird. I'm certainly not. She squawks a lot unless I spend time with her. Okay, how should attorneys from less traditional backgrounds, such as those who have spent time in academia or public interest law, tailor their application to major law firms? Are there specific elements of academia or public interest work that can align with the expectations of top tier law firms? And if so, how should I approach this? Okay, so if you are an attorney from a different background, meaning academic or public interest, you have made a choice to go into another practice setting. And
And that was your choice. It was something that you did because your interests were there. And if you come back now and say, I want to do something else, hey, if you come back and say you want to do something else, then you're not going to be, why would a law firm think about that? You've made a choice with your career to go into a different practice setting. So I'm going to give you the same advice I've given, I've already talked about. This bird is crazy. Is that you need to, in order to fix that, you need to, you can't go to work in a major law firm. No major law firm is going to hire you if you're coming out of, if you haven't chosen law firms. The classic thing that happens is classic. Every week, multiple attorneys from Yale Law School that had graduated and gone into public interest and all this sort of thing approach me, and they want to get jobs in law firms, and they've never worked in a law firm, but they expect a law firm. They are so arrogant often that they expect the law firm just to bring them in some part of no law firm experience. It just doesn't work that way, and they don't get jobs. The only way you can get a job if you're coming from a non-traditional legal background is to start at a firm that will hire you, which typically is going to be a major American law firm, and then show some consistency there and move up. That has to be your career choice. So career choice, needs to be law firms. It's the same thing that the question that someone had from Georgetown, like they chose not to go to work for a law firm. So if you choose not to go to work for a law firm, and then you want to compete against people that did choose to go to a law firm, you're not going to win. The only way you're going to win is if you're able to, get into smaller law firms and move up. And you need to make that your career choice. You can't reasonably expect to get a position with a top tier law firm when you're competing with people for those same jobs that are working in law firms. So you have to start at a smaller law firm. You have no choice. I mean, you could try to get a top tier law firm, but why would a top tier law firm hire you when they can hire people that have made a career choice to work in law firms? And again, very, very important choice. Like you make choices about where you're going to work, and if your choice is to work in-house or in public interest or whatever, then you've made a choice about the direction of your career. And typically you've done that because that's what you're interested in. There's nothing wrong with not being interested in working in a law firm, but you have to take, you can work in public interest your whole career, but you make career choices. And if your career choice is a law firm, then you make it. But, yeah. Okay. This is funny. Okay, so someone says their computer's dying because they were watching this webinar and they're so long that the computer died. Okay, so what role? Oh, geez, hold on a second. What role does the timing of your job search play when trying to break into a major law firm from a less prestigious background? Are there periods of the year or particular economic conditions when firms are more open to hiring candidates outside of the traditional top tier law school and law firm pipeline? So yeah, so there are some periods of time when applications tend to slow down to law firms that can be good times to apply, where you stand a better chance. Usually those times are like, in November, closer to Thanksgiving. Computers. November, closer to Thanksgiving. Closer to Thanksgiving. And then after that, it would be, then towards Christmas. The reason for that, Jesus Christ, sorry, wait, first, crazy. Sorry, I might have to actually put this bird here. Wow. Sorry, this bird, just Christ. Oh, sorry, I'm having a problem here. Okay, well, anyway, so I'm really sorry about this. This bird is like basically heat. So anytime where there's not a lot of applications coming in, these times, November, closer to Thanksgiving, attorneys in larger law firms are typically waiting for bonuses. And so they will stay. Typically the bonuses will be paid towards the end of the, will be paid in January. So attorneys are not leaving that. So that's always a good time to apply to positions. This is another, people ask this a lot, and this is actually a very important question. Give me a second here. So how does a foreigner try to break in to enter the US job market? I'm having a hard time finding a job. So the best way for a foreign attorney to enter the US job market is typically by getting your JD. So it's not enough to get an LLM. You really need to work on getting the JD. The reason the JD is so important is because an LLM, you're just kind of competing with law students. I mean, other LLM attorneys, the grading is, you haven't gone through the whole thing with a first year attorney, like how, or first year law student, like, how the best grades and all that sort of stuff. So it's just, you really need to get your JD. Now, if you don't get a JD, then you need to follow my advice. Big law firms why would they hire someone with an LLM when they can hire from US attorneys don't require sponsorship and all this sort of stuff? Why would they do that? So I've seen these funny stories. I remember talking to this guy that had come over from China, and he got an LLM and couldn't get any jobs, and he went to University of Nebraska Law School or something, and then got a job working in some farming community, helping people buy and sell tractors. It was kind of funny, but he got a JD and had a job, and I think I ended up moving to a larger firm. So the idea is that if you're a foreign attorney, you really need to concentrate on getting an LLM. Once you've gotten your LLM, then you should really concentrate on trying to get a JD. No one does this. It's the most important piece of advice I can give any foreign attorney. There are thousands of people that come to the United States each year to get LLMs from foreign countries and never get jobs. If you don't want to get a JD, then your best job search method is going to be to apply to smaller firms and smaller markets, which no one does. I mean, you just, it's exactly what you need to do. You need to be applying to smaller firms and smaller markets. Again, I don't know where you're working, but say you're in, just give me another second here. Example I'm thinking of is someone in, try to get the room. Yeah, if you're in Ohio. So say you get an LLM from some school in Ohio. So you would go to, cities in Ohio. And no one teaches LLMs. This is just crazy. People come over and they spend $80,000 for LLM and no one shows them how to get a job. But you would go here and you would look at all the firms, all the cities in Ohio, which there's hundreds, right? That maybe thousands. And you would search out and try to apply to send your resume to people in these different towns. So do whatever kind of work you do. And you would say, I'm an LLM from University of Cincinnati, I don't know. And I'm really looking for a job. Well, no one is applying to all of these different places in Ohio. No one is. And so that's what you need to do. And that's the way to find a job. You're not going to find, Jesus. You're generally not going to find a job in Ohio if you are just trying to apply for jobs, because you're competing against other people that are from that have graduated and have US JDs. So it's just, it's not a good use of your time. So, that's what I would do if I was an LLM. I would apply to, I'd try to get a JD, which would almost ensure you get a job. The next thing, if you didn't do that, I would send my application to lots and lots of smaller firms in whatever. Hey, Jesus Christ! In whatever market you're currently trying to whatever wherever you've taken the bar, that's what I would do. And you can get a job. People just think, oh, I need to apply to the largest firms, and that's not what you should do. Okay. Any advice on switching to a niche practice area? I'm work for Social Security evaluating disability claims. I want to work in affordable housing. What is the best way to prepare for it? Jesus Christ. Sorry, step up. I'm having a real problem with this bird. Give me a second. So this question, I want to prefer a conference and target practice area. What is the best strategy during a conference? Okay, I'm not quite sure I understand this question, but if you're working for the Social Security office, then I would recommend trying to get a position with a law firm doing Social Security. That would be my advice. I think you could do that. I don't think that you would really. I think that that's an example of a practice area where you're getting experience that would be transferable to a law firm. So there are some government type jobs where you can do that. Working in affordable housing as opposed to Social Security, I'm not sure how you would make that transition. The only way you can make a transition to a completely different practice. 1 second again. Sorry. The only way you can successfully make a transition to a practice area like that would be kind of the same thing. You would search for people that do affordable housing in whatever city you were trying to work in. So I'll just give you whatever market you're currently in. So I'll show another example here. So you would search for affordable housing attorneys. And should pick a random state here, Minnesota. So here you're finding all these attorneys that do that kind of work, so that doing that, that's what I would do. How I would find a job, I would look at all of these firms that do it, and then I would apply to them, basically saying, this is what I want to do. So, this is an example of a firm in Minnesota that does it. They do affordable housing work. So if you were to apply to all of the firms in Minnesota that do affordable housing, you would get a job even if you're coming to the Social Security office, because you would apply to firms that don't have openings and just have a real interest in it. I don't know how many people in Minnesota are trying to do this, probably not a lot. So that's how I would do that. Again, anyone, I don't care who you are, what you want to do, can get a job if you cast a wide enough net. You should not sit there. If you apply for a affordable housing job that's advertised, why would they hire you? They're not going to hire you because you don't have the experience. Why would they hire someone without the experience? It doesn't make any sense. So you have to try to apply to places that don't have openings. Okay. Which one? And some of the stuff I'm saying in this webinar, I realize can be upsetting to people. It's not happy and doesn't mean this particular piece of advice is good, but it's not always it wouldn't make me happy to hear things that aren't necessarily positive. I will say for everyone who's asking these questions, I definitely admire you for taking the time to ask them and thinking about these things and listen to these answers. I remember I once wrote a book and I had someone review it, and I'd worked months on this book, and they basically said, this is crap. Like, I can't believe, that you would write such a thing. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what the topic was about. It was a positive topic. It was something people weren't interested in. And, just this horrible attack on what I'd written. And I felt very bad about it. But the point is that I learned from it and it made me better. So, and you have to be able to take negative experience. Okay, negative comments. Okay, in a previous webinar, you talked about the benefits of staying in your current position. I asked if it was an okay reason to leave the law firm because you have horrible health care insurance. You said it was not a good reason. Today, it sounds like you are more open about switching firms if it's a better firm. I think a better firm would have better health care insurance. So is there any reason it's okay to leave your firm if you're going to a better firm? Okay, so yes, it is okay to leave your firm if you're going to a better firm. I don't know how many years of practice you have, but my advice, if you are a young attorney, is to concentrate on getting your experience and try to move to a better and better firm.
I realize health insurance may be important for a lot of people, especially with medical conditions, but you can maybe buy insurance on your own. I don't know, but you can't be switching around firms depending on their healthcare plan. When you're less than 5 years out, your only job, again, the only thing that matters is getting experience. You want to get as much experience as you can, be trained in a practice area, because once you have that training, you can do all sorts of things. You can open your own firm, you can go to a better firm, you have all these opportunities, but you're not going to have those opportunities if you if you try to stay. If you don't leave your firm. If you don't leave, if you don't get that training. So the training is all that matters. Your first 5 years, honestly, even if you're hardly getting paid anything, when you're getting on the job experience, you're getting things you don't get in law school. So I don't think health insurance is a good reason, but I think moving to a better firm is. I'm reviewing the questions. Okay, so this next question. I have been a stay-at-home mom for a long time and trying to return to work. I have various volunteer experiences on my resume, some legal, some not. Any advice for overcoming this huge gap, and how can I show that I can serve the work? I was considering LLM professional resume, but it sounds like that's not helpful. Okay, so I remember growing up, my one of my best friend's mothers went to law school when she was probably in her mid-40s, maybe 50, I don't know what it was, and came out, and she didn't go to a great law school. She went to Detroit College of Law, that may be called Michigan State Law School, she went out, and she went at night, and she got a job, I remember, for this solo practitioner that did personal injury law, and she worked for him and worked for him, I think, until she died. It's just maybe 20 years later when she died of lung cancer because she was a smoker. But the point is that anybody, like if you've been a stay-at-home mom, you want to go back, all you need to do is find someone that will hire you. Typically, it's going to be a smaller firm. It doesn't really, a smaller law firm, in a city. So this particular woman was working in, where was she working? Let's say Wayne County, Detroit. So she did personal injury law. So, this is just, I don't know, you don't have to do personal injury, trust in estates. Let's say trust in estates. So trust in estates, state's attorneys in Wayne, let's say, Wayne County, Michigan. Michigan. So this is where she worked. Actually, she did personal injury, but I'm just personal. So again, same thing. You have all of these people, these are sponsored ads. You have all these rankings of trust in the state's attorneys and so forth. All of these, different firms, that are on all these different. It just keeps going on. Look at there's like 8 or 10 pages and pages of them, this. I'm on page 6. Okay, so I'm on page 6, and which means I looked at over 120 places. And if I was a stay-at-home mom and I wanted to do trust in estates, you go here and you know what about practice areas. It's just this guy, like he would love it if someone approached him and wanted help. He would to help him, and it's just you have hundreds of these people to do that. So it's not hard to get a position. You just have to be willing to do some research and find places and people that are likely to hire you. It's not hard. So that's what you need to do. You need to concentrate on trying to find people that will hire you that are from smaller firms. People will hire you. People need help. I had I told this story before, but I had a law firm in Malibu, California for like 10 years. And in the entire 10 years, only 2 people spent the time to do a research and find out that I had a law firm there. Both of them lived in Malibu. One of them walked into my office with a resume. I hired, it was the worst hire I ever made. And I kept her on because I felt sorry for her. But the point, eventually I let her go.
But I guess my point is that anyone can, oh, sorry about that. Got an automated desk. So anyone can get a job. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're stay at home. You don't need to get an LLM. You just need to apply to a bunch of places. I mean, come on, guys. This is, and ladies, this is as fundamental as it gets. This is the easiest piece of job search advice I can give you. You don't need an LLM. You don't need to worry about where you went to law school. You just need to get applications out there and apply to people. I mean, again, I'm looking here at just this one screen. I mean, there are hundreds of people that do this type of work that would love it if you apply to them. This particular guy, look at this. How old is this rascal? It's one attorney. So he's been practicing since 1974. He probably has a lot of trust in things that he's working on. He's someone that if you send him a blind application would probably think it was pretty cool and be interested. So this is what people need to do. You need to, apply to people that aren't expecting your applications that could use help instead of relying on job boards. It's a great question. Okay, next question. Have you seen success stories of people working full-time while going to law school part-time? Does this type of program reduce my chance of being hired at a big law firm? Yes, I've seen lots of people succeed that work full-time while going to law school. That's definitely possible. Part-time schools, where you're getting a degree over several years, it does make it more difficult. The reason being that, it's not the same as going to a law school full-time and, ranking at the same level in your practice area and everything. So of course you can succeed. Again, there are so many freaking places to work. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you think that going to law school part-time is going to prevent you from working? The only thing that's going to prevent you doing is from getting a job probably in a major law firm. So everyone wants to work in a major law firm. You can't expect reasonably to work in a major law firm if you're going to school part-time and not getting the grades or not working at the same type of getting a summer associate job and all those sorts of things. You can't do it. I mean, the only way you can do it is to get experience in a certain practice area and then become an expert in it. So how does that work? So, again, I'll go back to the same screen share. If you wanted to do, say you wanted to work in a big law firm doing real estate law. So, you would do the same thing I'm doing, there's a lot of, I think there's a couple of, part-time law schools, maybe in Detroit. So you did real estate attorneys in Wayne County, Michigan. So an example being, again, you have all of these, real estate law firms in Wayne County, Michigan, or people that do real estate law. These are sponsored. So you have, again, hundreds of places that do, real estate law, real estate attorneys in Detroit. You go and you look at Jerome Goldman's website. The heck is, I don't even know this guy's website. Here we go. Well, maybe not his Facebook. But you look at all these different people that are doing this work. You get a job with one of them. You get an expertise. You get that expertise, you become someone that, and this firm looks like they do a ton of real estate law. Once you get that expertise, you take that experience and you transition it into, to trying to work in a larger law firm. Again, the longer you're out, the fewer people there are doing the kind of work you're doing, and then the better odds you have of getting into a large law firm. So that's how I've seen people do it. Again, there's so many opportunities out there. It's amazing. Okay. If you work in area A, want to work in area B and register for a conference for attorneys who specialize in B, what is the best ways to use your time at the conference? Okay, so again, if you want to work in another practice area, going to a conference isn't gonna get that done for you. Going to that conference, so we'll teach you more about that practice area, will make you
more enthusiastic about their practice area. It will make you much more likely to get a job in their practice area. So all of these things can, if you get exposed to a practice area and interested in it, then that's good. I don't know that your networking is going to get you a job if you're working in one area, you go to a conference B. But I do know that becoming enthusiastic and learning more about that practice area and kind of throwing yourself into it would be a good use of your time. And then just learning about the practice area, because the more you learn, the more enthusiastic you become, the more you want to do it, and the more you will put yourself in the people that may hire you. So if you go to multiple conferences and you write paper, I don't know, but then it can help you. But I don't know that going to a conference can help you. I know of a family law attorney that was very interested in music. He loved playing guitar and everything. And he wanted to become a entertainment lawyer that did music law. And he had a thriving practice doing family law. And he kind of threw himself into it, went to all these conferences and had a lot of money to spend. And nothing came of it. So the conferences are good, but ultimately you're going to be hired based on your experience. If you transition to another law firm that's doing that, that could help you right now. Okay, next question. Is age a barrier to get hired in a large law firm? Secondly, without a local JD, a foreign trained attorney is another obstacle on both of these. What is the best practice here for a 6-year-old attorney? I'm sorry for that type of question. So yeah, so the older you are, obviously, if you were a law firm and you wanted to hire someone, and the partners were all in their 30s, and the associates were all in their 20s. I mean, it's a pretty big obstacle once your age gets up there to get hired by large law firms. It's just, and if you're foreign trained, it makes it even harder. So if I was a 6-year-old attorney, what I would do is I would probably try to find firms that are having a hard time hiring people, which would be maybe personal injury firms that don't pay a lot, some insurance defense firms, solo practitioners, things like that. Then you could get a job if you follow kind of the job search advice that I get in the way of looking for jobs. So I think that that's kind of how I would approach it, and I think that would work. So, but you have to go. So you have, and this is for everyone on the call. You have consumer facing practice areas, which are personal injury, whatever, personal injury, across the states, whatever. I mean, there's family law, all those sorts of things, and then you have, company facing, corporate, real estate, etc. So, so you're never going to get into a large law firm. Probably as a foreign attorney, 60 years old, without a US JD, it's not going to happen. There's no incentive for a large law firm to hire you. Why would they? You wouldn't either. So, the best practice area would be the easiest practice area to get a job in would be consumer facing practice area. There's every city in the country has attorneys doing consumer facing. Company facing is going to be harder, but unfortunately, I mean, a lot of law firms have mandatory retirement at like 60 or 65. So it's just not going to be possible. So I'm reading a lot of these questions. A lot of them are the same. Okay, so I'm just sorry to pause here like that. I'm reading these questions and that I haven't answered yet, and a lot of them are from people that are educated overseas and trying to work in the U.S. So that's a lot of the questions that I haven't answered yet, and I think that I think I've talked about that a lot so far. I think that as a foreign attorney, you need to get JD. I think that it's very, very difficult to work in a even a medium-sized to large law firm because you're just competing against U.S. attorneys, and the law firms don't have a lot of incentive for hiring foreign attorneys. Nothing that you've done. It's just, it's just that, you're it's different. I mean, it's like you want to hire people that are local. I mean, if you were if you were just, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in the United States, but just imagine, you're a you're a US, I mean, say you're from, I don't know, just making up a country here, Germany, from Germany, and someone shows up and takes some classes in a German law school and wants to get hired at one of the biggest law firms in Germany. I mean, just think about it from the point of view of the law firms. If you're from Germany, why would they hire you? I mean, they wouldn't. And so you're facing the same issues. I mean, it's different cultures, different languages, maybe. There's just no incentive to hire you. The only way you're going to get a job is if you go and you compete and you go to like a top German law school, not for some like secondary degree, but for a real German law school degree. And then you work in the summer at a big law firm in Germany, and then it's just how it works. I mean, you can't expect as a foreign attorney to get a job in the U.S. and get an LLM. It's almost an impossibility for a large law firm, but it is possible in smaller law firms. You need to take my advice and do research, find every firm in every city that does the work you want to do, send blind applications, you'll get a job. It's that simple. But you cannot go down this traditional route and expect that sending an application to a U.S. law firm is going to get you anywhere. It's just, I mean, a big law firm. There's just no incentive for them to hire you. And I'm very sorry to say that. So the only way to do it usually is to get a job in a smaller law firm. Now, do attorneys come over and get LLMs and get jobs in large U.S. law firms? Of course they do. But they're typically like, 1-year positions as like a foreign thing or something. Sometimes they get full-time jobs. I was talking to a woman from Venezuela a couple of months ago that come over and miraculously with got a JD or something, LM, and then working in a huge law firm. So it does happen, but it's just not that often. It's possible, but it's very difficult. And to be possible, if you come over and get an LM, you're better off going to a school like Harvard or something. I remember in the first firm I worked at, they had hired some LLMs, and those LLMs that the firm hired said they were the only LLMs from their Harvard Law School class, the foreign attorneys, to get a job in the U.S. And that may have changed since that time, but it's very difficult. Okay, I would like to get into an international area of practice. I speak fluent German and have credentials showing this. As someone who graduated in the middle of their class from a lower ranked law school and has worked in insurance practice, coverage, and defense, would I be able to transition to different area practice where I could use my German fluency doing, say, mergers and reorganizations? Would immigration work be a suitable stepping stone to work in a larger firm? I also have dual citizenship in the EU country. Okay, so first of all, if you're doing insurance, and insurance coverage is a very good practice area to be in. The reason for that is large law firms do insurance coverage. They don't do insurance defense, but they do coverage. So I would do whatever I could to get as much coverage experience as possible if you want to move to a large law firm. Because if you get good coverage experience, it definitely is possible to move to a large law firm. Would I be able to transition to a different area of practice where I could use my German fluency, doing, say, mergers and reorganizations? No. So most transactions with different countries are done in English. No one is going to hire you for a practice area you don't have experience in, because they can hire people that have that experience from U.S. law firms. So, so that's kind of how that works. So, so that kind of answers that. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being on this webinar. A lot of the questions that people have asked, I have answered. There are a couple of questions here about paralegals, like being able to transition to law firms. Yes, paralegals can go to law school and get positions in big law firms. That experience is translatable. People like it and it can work. Okay, well, thank you everybody for reading this webinar. This was a long webinar, and I know this was a lot of information to digest. I think that if everybody on this webinar really listened, I think there's hundreds of people, over 900 people still on this webinar. I hope you learned a lot. I will, be back next week, but I appreciate all the questions and everyone's time. And I hope you have a good rest of your week. Thank you.